Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, for 10 years in a row. Yeah, well, then it's probably time for Warhammer. All right. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. You know, excuse
There
me.
it is.
Yeah,
There it is.
I knew if I pushed it too hard, it was going to happen. But anyways, I'm super sick. I'm getting better. But it's been a rough week. A very rough week. That has destroyed all of my best laid plans. There we go. At any rate, joining me, as always, my two compatriots in arms. Truly the jelly and bananas to my peanut butter, as would any sandwich.
Do you do honey?
I don't know, man. I don't eat peanut butter, so it's all
yeah.
just me making stuff up. Isn't that what Elvis did? Elvis put bananas on it. Wasn't that his sandwich thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, it's Tyler and Tom. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Good.
Hello, friends.
There. You know, all these years, Tom, I still don't have a catchphrase. It never
I've
happens.
given you like 4
At this
years
point,
to figure this out, Tyler.
I know.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Tyler, I
Brendan
want you to know. You don't know what's coming. Neither of these guys know what's coming. But Tyler, that's so funny that you said that. Well, for reasons you will see later in this show. Okay?
Ooh. So Tyler's wrong in that statement that he doesn't have a catchphrase.
No.
I have nothing to say specifically. Go ahead.
I'm immune to having a catchphrase. I'm pretty fond of TBD because that's very appropriate.
Sure.
But yeah, that's not a catchphrase, obviously. But yeah. Anyway, good to be here, Tom. I don't know where you've been, but I've been here a lot lately. You need to try a little harder. Oh my!
You're
Lord,
on mute,
what is
Tom. Look
happening?
at that. Just boom.
What is happening?
Oh, he's talking to
that
someone
was
else.
freaky.
Oh,
Yeah, he
I think he's talking to someone else. At any rate, while he's talking to someone else before he unmutes himself.
Sorry, I was fixing my
There he
lights.
is.
Oh, okay, got it. There it is. All right.
I was way too dark. Like when I looked at the camera, it was way too dark on screen.
Understand. Ravens Knight 501 with a $10 super chat already saying happy anniversary, Vince. Started AOS 3 months ago. Building Skaven, also very near and dear to me. Just want to say your videos are so helpful and inspiring. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you very much. Yes, today is the 10th anniversary spectacular. That's right. We've now done at least 520 of these shows. That is crazy to think about. It's like you have to do what, 100 episodes to be syndicatable, right? I think that's the normal measure for a television show. Okay.
So what's the average? Did you like go back into data and like figure out what our average show length is?
No, I don't know if I have a way to pull that. I don't think, because it doesn't let me separate by that. Like you can't look at a playlist and pull data on a particular playlist. Maybe there's some, I bet there's some kind of like YouTube add-on app that will do it. Hey, if somebody else is out there who knows a cool YouTube add-on app that you can do that kind of stuff, shoot it at me, but not in the normal YouTube analytics. Martin Orlando throwing the super chat out for $5 saying happy 10 years from the Warhammer Weekly Foreign Correspondents Association. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll take some looks back. We'll talk about some guests and stuff like that. But today is just going to be, a little bit of a normal show, but also a big celebration of just having been doing this for 10 years, and also us ruminating about how we're going to keep at this for the next 10 years. So when we get back and celebrate the 20th anniversary, then that'll really be something impressive. That'll be like right before I die.
I told Rachel tonight that the real milestone is 17 years.
17 years? Why 17 years?
Because
it's a bit longer than your marriage.
My first marriage, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, exactly. Well, whatever. We'll talk about it. It's fine. Yeah. So, excuse me if I'm coughing. Like I said, I am getting over some sickness, but we thank you all for being here. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, do all those things. Super chat is there. Help out the show. It's deeply appreciated, all that kind of stuff. But of course, it's still a show. We still got to do the normal rigmarole. So let's start with that news. What do we got?
Let's do this rumor engine. Books. Who likes books?
Who doesn't love a book, huh?
Well, we know it's not 40K.
Thin-fingered hand.
They burn books in 40K, so it's not 40K.
It's true. This hand has really thin fingers.
Yeah.
Like weirdly shaped fingers.
You ready for my call?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Sigmar Street Preacher.
Sigmar Street Preacher. Okay.
Yep. Like an evangelist or something like that, standing on a corner, raising the good book of Sigmar and shouting out to the hordes. That's what I'm calling.
Okay. All right. Tyler?
Works for me. Sure. Yeah,
I
had
mean,
no idea. Those
you
are
have
weird-ass
been
fingers.
calling wanting that sort of thing for almost the entirety of this show. So I suppose it is either the fact that we don't have it is either a direct proof that the secret doesn't work or proof that you're not very good at it. One of the two. Yeah. Yeah, just the hand of the book, no eyes or anything. Yeah, exactly. This is the whole model. It's just the hand on the book. Yeah, exactly. Somebody said a Necromunda preacher. Yeah, that would be a cool street preacher thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
See that?
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, it's probably an AOS thing, but who can say? It could also be like an Underworlds thing or something like that.
By the way, I think you were wrong on the KO Trident the other week. I'm just
Okay.
going to go on the record for that.
Sure, go for
I
it.
think that's Chaos Wars.
Okay. All right.
Which
I mean, it has the
explain
same.
why-
It has the same base construction of the hilt, but at the same time, we know that they just sometimes reuse ZCAD files, so it wouldn't be like
Right.
that shocking.
Well, and so it would make sense if they wanted to build and create an aesthetic based on the KO and then twist it, right? And we don't see tridents in the KO stuff, but we do see it in historic Cast Wars.
Okay. Tom, plant a flag for Shorfs. All right.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Paul says, just to be clear, Tom disagrees. That's right. Raven Knight says it's actually a new manifestation. This is the whole model. It's just a hand with a giant book. It's just really big. All right. What's next? What are next?
So we got the Gits pre-order and rules, the 4 faces of the Bad Moon.
Yeah, let's talk about this box first off. So here's what's in the box. I've got it up on screen right now.
Yep.
So you get like the book, the cards, you get the 2 chariots, you get like the 5 guys, and then the mounted wolf special guy or whatever, right? The kind of wolf boss dude, and then the big wolf boss dude, right? I think that's basically the breakdown. Is that right?
Is it
Something
5?
like
So
Or-
is there?
No,
that's
it's
my
like
question.
sorry, 6 cavalry dudes, the main cavalry dude, 2 chariots. There you go. That's
Yeah.
what it
So
is.
it's 2 units of 3 cavalry dudes.
Yeah.
And then 2 chariots and the main guy. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing that there's multiple builds, probably for the chariots, maybe for the cavalry. I don't know,
One assumes probably.
because the cavalry all have 2 guys on them. So I didn't know if there would be like a 1 guy, 2 guy cavalry. But so I don't know about the cavalry, but I'm guessing that the chariots, because those chariots look different.
Manzak, we talked about them last week. We talked about the Barrow Kings and all that last week, buddy. It was awesome. I loved it. It was great stuff. Some of the best work they've done in a while.
Yeah. So ostensibly, this is 5 boxes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 boxes of Warhammer.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It feels like the 2 chariots would probably come in one box, but okay.
No way. The chariots are going to be one box, 1 chariot. That's what I'm calling.
Okay.
Maybe not. I mean, they could be like dragons, right? But I'm guessing that it would be 1 box, 1 chariot. And so maybe 5 kits. If it's 5 kits, that suggests that, like, let's say it's $60 a kit, which is fairly standard. It's $300 of value and probably a $220 box. Like, is that what we're looking at here?
I guess.
with
I mean,
the
it's
book.
9 figs. This feels pretty weak. That's what I'll say.
I
Like,
know.
I get it's probably,
know.
like, retail, it's probably there, but boy, does it not feel like it.
It just reminds us that just how slim pickings things are. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love the figs. Don't get me wrong, but geez, it's like, okay, that's a lot. It's a lot going on for 9 figs. Not James from Alaska throwing the super chat saying, congrats on 10 years. As I just got into it, what's everyone's favorite MTG commander? Well, it wouldn't be a Warhammer Weekly if we weren't talking about Magic, would it now?
That's early too. Not even 15 minutes in. Or 5 minutes in. We barely been here for 5 minutes. All right.
Well, the
let's
rest
go.
of his comment was, sorry, Tyler, you can just give a thumbs up and look
Okay.
happy to be here. There you go. See how he walked you right into that, and then I helped him by just slow reading that comment. This is great. At any rate, my favorite, I don't know, it's hard to say. I have lots of commander decks. I build them and take them apart. But my favorite commander deck I've ever built and still have together is Elenia the Divergent Storm from Bloomborough. I love her. She's my goofy copy commander. Tom's seen me play it. And I think I killed Tom that game by making him draw 90 cards or something like that by casting one spell.
Right. Yeah. So many good options. I think mine's gonna have to be Bernard Ginger Sculptor.
Sure. Making food golems.
Because not only is he a fun little happy baker that bakes little cookies with a little bit of hate, a little drop of hate in every cookie, but there's also like the way that I've built it is it's not typical, not standard, and so like I play it and everybody's like, oh look, yay golems, and then suddenly it's like, oh god, what's happening? It's great.
Sure.
Great experience.
All right, so there you go. There's the answer
for me.
I'm sure we could do. Believe me, there'll be more shows where we talk about MTG. That'll happen. All right. So now, yes, you mentioned it. Let's talk about the faces of the moon. So apparently, Gitz is Nurgle now to some degree.
Yep.
So you've got the faces of the bad moon. It's going to be grinning, scowling, sulking, or cackling, and it goes around in a circle. And if it's the first battle round, pick the starting face. If it's not the first battle round, it moves to the next face in the sequence. And you can see that every face of the moon touches, like, each unit type touches two faces of the moon. So, like, trolls touch grinnin' and scowlin'. Squigs touch scowlin' and sulkin'. Gitmob is cacklin' and sulkin'. And non-squig, Moon Clan, and Spiderfang are the other ones.
Yeah, it's whatever two armies each phase touches.
Yes. Exactly.
So any one faction will receive the benefits of the moon 2 turns in a row.
Yes.
It's just none of them are obviously the same consecutive 2 turns.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Halo says, oh, will there be more Magic discussion? Yeah, I mean, you know. Yeah, so here's what it is. So, under the light of the bad moon, while it's cacklin' or grinnin', you add 5 to the control scores of friendly non-squig Moon Clan units. Boy, that's the bonus I was looking for with my units of 40. It was really tight on whether or not I was going to be able to control, but, you know, thank God, that plus 5. While the bad moon is sulkin' or cacklin', friendly Gitmob units can use charge and shoot abilities even if they used a retreat ability in the same turn. Okay. So that's fine. They can retreat and charge or shoot. Okay.
Yep.
And then Moonlit Hide, while it's grinnin' or scowlin', subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of combat attacks that target friendly Troggoth units. Okay. So, not as good as plus 1 save, but still the best one, I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm sad not being able to, like, get a balloon and travel the moon balloon across the table.
Yeah, sure.
Phases. Like, it feels like a real miss. That's all I'm saying. Super.
I mean, it's like, it's whatever. Yeah, I mean, what's your take on this? Do you like this? I'm just gonna ask you straight up.
If it, like, my first thought, right, does this meaningfully incentivize, as usual, check my box, variety? To what degree does this incentivize variety in list building? I mean, it could, if it were actually some real meaningful benefits with, I would say, like, obviously the non-squid moon, the Moon Clan one is meaningless. The situational on the charge, shoot, retreat, and then the Trog one is nice. So
yeah, I mean, because you're in your head, you're like, okay, well, basically, you know, not my entire army can't benefit from this whole thing all at once. So, like, what they're trying to make me do is play this game where I have a force that's mixed of all of the different types of troops, right? And then like I carefully use the pieces where I'm getting the maximal benefit out of each phase the moon is in by starting in this clever position. No, just cast the unlimited spell and move the moon around. That's all you're gonna do. You're just gonna your entire magic phase, you're just gonna be trying to sit wherever you are. So like you're gonna try to be here, then bounce there, then bounce it all the way back around. Doop, voop.
Only 12.
Voop.
Yeah.
Or build your army to only basically be in 1 to 2 phases of the moon total, and then just start it in such a way that either you're in 1 and 2 or 2 and 3.
No, that's what I'm saying. You'll be in 1 and 2, and then you'll use the spell because
I'm saying you don't even need to use the spell. Like just with careful planning, you can either figure out 1 and 2 or 2 and 3.
Yeah.
like because that's when the game's decided is in those two ranges of turns.
George Sutherland says, I like the formatting delivery system of the buffs, but the buffs themselves don't feel good. Yeah, it sounds about right. And like I saw earlier, I think Tristan had said that do the Snarlfangs have the best one? Because it seems like retreat and charge or shoot is good. Yeah, well, those units would have to be worth retreating and or charging and or shooting, right? And if goblins on wolves are actually hitting that hard, or the chariots or whatever are hitting that hard, then like what are we doing here? Right?
Yeah.
Like they just if these are like your backbreaker units, then I don't know what the rest of the game is about anymore. So there you go.
So what do squig units do?
No, well, they didn't show all of them. They just showed these.
Got it. I was saying I don't see them here. And also, what do Spiderfang do?
Well, again, they didn't show it here. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but there's only 4 of them, and they've shown 3 of them. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, like that doesn't mean that Spiderfang don't have a thing that says like when the bad moon is cackling or grinning, because remember they're included in the like if you look at this image. They do call out Spiderfang here, non-Squig, Moon Clan, and Spiderfang. So cackling and grinning is going to affect them somehow. They just didn't give us the rules for that. Like there's probably a second line that's like, well, the bad moon is cackling or grinning, and Spiderfang units get blah, and then while the moon is scowling or sulking, Squig units get blah, right?
I'm not impressed. That's what I'm saying. Like sure. I'm just like it's. I hated the Nurgle wheel, and I hate this. Congratulations. I hate it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I do not think this is going to be very popular. I don't think people like the Bad Moon. I'm not sure this fixed it. I mean, just maybe just give them like a bonus. You know? Like, does it have to be this clever thing? Does it have to be like that? Like, what if it was just, here you go. Like, what if it was just like the Bad Moon looms, and you got to pick, 2 from a set of like 5 benefits that your army got to utilize that were the blessings of the Bad Moon based on the leader that you chose, right? And I don't mean like what species they are, like it's a troll leader or a goblin leader or anything like that. Just mean that's what the leader follows, and so this is the blessings they bestow on their people because that's how they follow the Bad Moon. What if we just did that? What if that was just the thing? What if we just had abilities? These are just ideas.
Weird.
I don't know.
Weird.
Patrick B with the $5 super chat saying, basing and priming FEC as I watched. Thanks for giving me the confidence to just get painting. Heck yeah. Just do it. Nike, Shia LaBeouf, Vince Venturella. That's right. That's exactly right. Just do it. All of those things. Michael Scott. Mm-hmm. All right. So anyways, I don't think it's going to be very popular, but we'll see. Like, how will sub-factions work with this? That's a big question. I see Kuhal has the same question I do. Like, yeah, I mean, it's many questions still to answer. And hey, I guess that means we'll do this show. These are on pre-order this weekend, right? So we'll do the show next week, I guess. So there you go.
Congratulations, Tyler.
Oh man, I'm on a different schedule than the Tom schedule.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, we'll figure. Yeah, TBD, Tom. TBD.
You may both get a skate on that one. All right. At any rate, what else do we got?
And then finally, the store anniversary models. That's right, folks. Get your Claw Lord here.
Yeah, man. Look at this guy. This guy does rule.
He looks great. Yeah.
Like,
love the model.
I'm gonna spoil a little bit of my hobby time. But looking at this guy, I've been painting Skaven all week, and I was like, I could paint this guy.
Yeah, really my only issue with this dude was the extra, like, skulls hanging around his armor. I don't like how that like, bulks out his center profile in a weird way. And it's just, like, extra nonsense. They always just keep piling on nonsense. Like, if he just had a clean waistline that, like, flared back out into that robe and stuff, he would look so much better than, like, having all these dumb skulls tied around his waist. It just, it makes him look chunky for, like, no reason. Yeah, I don't know why they can't just stop. Somebody needs to walk over and be like, no. Stop that. Stop that. No. Yeah, I think Adepticon will be the first place you can pick these up. Yeah, I think that's right.
I hear it. I still like him.
No, he's good. He's good. I'm saying I like the model. I just don't like those skulls around his thing. But I bet I could actually trim those off. So there you go. It's fine. Probably just leave like the one in the middle that's hanging over his groin. That one's probably fine. You know, little extra skull to accentuate the package. You want to make sure you do that. That's important. It's important. Yeah, exactly. How else would he know it's from GW without the skulls, says Richard. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 2+ tough coming in. Hey, what's up, Doug? Hey. He says he loves this Skaven mini. Yeah, I agree. It's really cool. I didn't get a picture, but there was also some kind of 40K one as well. And who cares? It's like a Gene Stealer guy. Okay.
It's a guy. I looked at it and I was like, nope.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the news. I mean, we don't have much this week other than those things.
Quiet-ish week, and that's okay. We still managed to waste almost 21 minutes talking about not much. There you go. We're good at this. We've got this down, folks.
We've been doing it a while.
Yeah. So let's move to some pick of the week, gentlemen. Here in this 10th anniversary funtacular. So Tyler, what would you like to share with everybody?
You know, I just realized I just have one.
Yeah.
That's weird. That's not on brand.
You're off the game.
Yep. I watched a bunch of the Las Vegas Open coverage from the Hobby Collab YouTube channel, and it was amazing. I linked one of the best games that I've ever seen over the nearly 10 years of AOS YouTube content. Soulblight versus Flesh Eater Courts. Can't remember the guys. Bill Hennessy, I think, was one. And I'm forgetting the Soulblight guy's name. Incredible game. If you watch a YouTube battle report, watch this one. So yeah, shout out to everybody at Hobby Collab. They did an incredible job with the streaming. They mic'd up the players, right? Which is the best way, I mean, with all love to Rob and everybody who does commentary, I still think the way to go is to just mic up the players and maybe ask them to, keep the cursing to a minimum. And and there you go. Yeah, it was great. Did you guys watch any of that? Did you know that they did that?
I did not, but since when you sent it over, it is in the description, by the way, already. People can go check it out. Because as always, Tyler was the responsible child and did send his thing along early, so I included it in the description. I do want to check it out. I mean, that sounds pretty awesome to me.
Adam, Gareth just said Adam played Soulblight. Yeah, exceptional game. And Tristan, I know, man, I'm letting you down. I mean, what's new? I mean, yeah. Although you called me Taylor, so like I feel like you've got it's fine. I can do about anything if you're just gonna call me Taylor all day. So yeah.
Tom, what would you like to share with everybody?
I'm gonna spruik friend of the show, Ninjon. He did his treatment of paints for you talked about it last week. I'm blanking on it.
The John Blanche set?
The Blanche, that John Blanche's paint set.
Yep.
And it made me excited for them. So nice. I'm interested in maybe picking them up. We'll see. It's a lot of like hues that I don't normally like function in, but it's something I'm interested in at least.
Jim Crimmins said Taylor is getting chippy. Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering, is that Mike chippy or just getting chippy? I mean, it doesn't take much to get me chippy.
I assume just like general chippiness. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good. All right. We can put up with that.
Yeah. Yeah, fantastic. I will link that down there. My pick of the week is going to actually be for our good friend who's in the chat, 2+ Tough Doug, who had a little video on the youth event for Realms at War at Adepticon. And I know there's a lot of people. AOS is very much, as I've said, a game played by dads in their mid-30s to mid-40s with kids. One and a half children is probably what the average is. And so if you have some kids and maybe they want to come to the event, but maybe you don't, maybe they're not there for like the whole tournament, there's this nice little Realms at War event for the youth players, for the young, for the kids. And Doug has a video that can help you all out there. That's linked down below. Doug, I know you're in the chat. If you want to spruik anything else or explain anything else about it, feel free to drop it in there. I think that's
Vince
super
used
great.
it. He used the term spruik.
I use
Somebody
spruik all the
asked me-
time. I'm the one who taught you the word spruik.
You are. Vince, where does spruik come from?
Australia.
Yep. It is regional slang, and it's Australian.
Yes. I'm aware. I stole it from the Australia because like 90% of my podcast diet is Australian podcasts. And so like all of their like local language or local idioms just became embedded in my brain. Okay. So yeah, and spruik is one that's never coming out. Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
So there you go. Raven Knight said, I will say Tom's mic is much nicer. You can hear the salt in HD. Hey, there you go. That's right. We got it. Okay.
What faction would Tay play? I mean, Daughters of Cain, first thing obviously comes to mind.
Yeah, Terathi, baby.
Yeah,
of course.
Of course. Pat Noon, you're not Australian, are you? I feel like I recognize that name. Probably not. Anyway, I'm wondering if you're the infamous Pat, the Aussie. Yeah, we'll find out here. Anyway.
Oh, Paul Wagner said, finally 10 years in, spruik is explained. Yeah, I've just been saying it for like the whole time. It's amazing.
All your answers solved tonight.
That's right. All the long-term questions. Yeah, exactly. Well, there'll be a Q&A portion later. Don't worry. Tomb King Tristan with a super chat. Hey, congrats on the 10 years, gang. Thank you, Tomb King Tristan. It's much appreciated, buddy. You've been here with us for so long, and I appreciate it. So many of the names I see here, so many of you have been here with us for so long, and it's like, it's incredible. Yes. Maybe the next thing you raise money for is for Tim to get new headphones. Yeah, exactly. We do got to get Tim some headphones.
Yeah.
There's a joke for that later too. All right, cool. What does spruik mean though? It means like to promote, right? Like you're spruiking of the podcast you were on or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I was on this podcast last week. Check it out. It's really good. You want to listen to it? They do great stuff. That's spruiking something. Okay.
Got it. Thanks, Plastic Crack. All right, got it. Yeah. So I'm sure Pat Noon, you're great, but yeah, there is only there's the Pat Nevin, who I was thinking of. Yeah. Okay. All right, we can move on. Oh man, you haven't seen.
You're not important.
No, I said he's awesome too. You just look. There's only one Pat Nevin, fellas. There's only one. If you know, you know. If you've never watched Joel McGrath, I get the Joels mixed up. I'm gonna be 80 years old. I'm still gonna get the Joels mixed up. But
sure.
I can't remember the channel name. Pat's on it. Some of my favorite battle reports over nearly 10 years of AOS. The man is glorious. He's a treasure. Yeah, he should earn royalties from the Australian government. All right, I'm done.
Very nice. Hey, I appreciate it. So there you go. All right, with that, gentlemen, how about we turn to some hobby time, because boy, is this going to be a story. There is a story here this week. Tyler, why don't you start us out?
You're talking about me painting.
Yeah,
that's the big news.
That is let's go. Yeah, what did you paint?
Guys, I finally did the. I was gonna curse. I'm gonna be good. I haven't cursed on this show in a long time, and saying ass doesn't count. I finally did the thing. We've got a tournament coming up. We got to get legal. We got to put 3 colors on something. We did it with 5 Wrathmongers, and they look horrific, but they're legal. And I'm
so proud of you, Tyler.
Thank you. Yes. So I did it. 5 Wrathmongers, 3 colors. One of those was some kind of like metallic that you slap on some chains, chains and whips. Yeah. Anyway, so making progress over here on that Stormcast army. Doing good work.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, my friend. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Couldn't be more proud of you and happy. I would never in a million years in any way say anything else, but that is great and congratulations and well done and keep it up. Like really, there is no bad place on the hobby journey. So it's awesome.
Thank you, Tristan. Guys,
very
are so
good.
Encouraging.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of people who look at this. Look at the people rolling in the chat who are so proud of you. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
10 years in, paints. Now, Paul, I did do half a Nurgle army, so you missed out on that. That was a few years ago, though.
Right,
So
but
I
now
understand.
this is the beginning of regular painting. Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Good. Tom, talk about it.
I painted some stuff too.
Yeah. You
And
did.
in fact, I finished 1,500 points of Skaven in prep for this weekend.
Yeah, you did.
Because I'm going to Holy Wars. I did have a partner up until tonight.
Uh-huh.
And so now I have 1,500 points of Skaven.
Did you want to come get the display board?
No.
Boy, I shouldn't have left it with me. That was a mistake. Who knew?
Indeed, that was a mistake. No, it's fine. I'm gonna ring her with Steve, so I'm gonna ring her at Holy Wars this weekend. And it'll be fun. It'll be great. And
did you already talk to Steve? I did send Steve a note, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I talked to him. So here's the good news: if you're going to Holy Wars this weekend, field's wide open.
Tom and I, we're bringing some killer stuff. Yeah, so here's what the hobby over my last week looked like, right? Like weekish. So Tom came up. We did all this work, like crazy work, over a couple intense days on this display board. It still had a lot of work to do, but we got like a huge amount of work done. I don't have any pictures of it right now. I'm sorry. I just didn't.
Do you want me to send you one to share?
No, it's all right. It's okay.
It's like my favorite picture in the world, Vince.
Okay, go ahead. Then send me the picture. Just yeah. Fine. Yep. Yes, send me the picture, Tom. Just send it to my email.
Yep. Do you Discord or email?
Send it to my email because I can't. We're on Discord right now, Tom. That's where we're doing this. You see how that would be a problem for me to then get that image?
Nope.
At any rate, so we just busted chops. I mean, it was amazing, right? We had such like I think it came out really well. Thank you, Tom. Send the picture along. That's great. We'll take a look here. And then, so I still had some more work to do on my own force. I had to go away last week. I was obviously last week why I did a hotel show. I was gone for the whole week, basically. Okay. Got back, spent all of Friday night and all day Saturday just hobbying, like working on the display board, working all the bases for my army, working all the remaining figs I had. Like I was from 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. basically on Saturday. I just sat at this desk and I was just drilling back and forth a few things. I was also making videos out of stuff at the same time. So I was like recording everything, working everything. I painted like more than 100 bases and got the rest of my, all but like 1.5 of the figs finished up. And then got the display board, the rest of the work we needed there done, except for like I need to like sand one of the edges and then repaint it and all that. Okay. And it was like Saturday night and I was like, I don't know, my throat feels a little sore. I'm probably just tired. I've been sitting here working with all these toxic chemicals all day because I've been doing, oil washes and stuff, and that had been sitting out and I was feeling woozy from all that. And I was like, oh, never work in a well ventilated area like I should. Like, I'll just go get a good night's sleep. Woke up the next day. Nope. Very sick. Like I got hit by a truck. And it only got worse. So, the Harrower, by the way, with the super chat saying, congrats on 10 years from Jeff Joe and DeWeird Cast and Tyler Painted Minis. Epic. Here's to 10 more. That's right. That's right. 10 years from now, we're going to be talking about Tyler's whole army. That's what's going to be happening. He's going to be like, well, I finished another army.
So excited.
Absolutely. Get ready.
So, at any rate, I woke up and I was just super sick. And, like, it just got worse over the course of the day to the point where that night I did not sleep at all. Like, Sunday night, I literally could not sleep. Every time I was about to fall asleep, I would basically nearly asphyxiate and or throw up. So that was a really fun night, let me just say. Like, about 12 solid hours of that sort of weird nightmare state that Dream locks the guy into in Sandman, where he keeps thinking he's waking up, but then he never actually wakes up. You know that? Yeah. It's that, but then intermingled with, like, Exorcist-level projectile vomiting, okay? Like, to a level I have never experienced in my life. I don't know where they imported the Spanish flu of, like, 1918 for or whatever, but that's what got me, okay? It is insane. Like, that next morning, I had to go to urgent care because I was so dehydrated and, like, couldn't keep anything down. Then I was like, okay, I'm in legitimate health jeopardy here. This is actually how people die from the flu, right? As you get too dehydrated and you can't keep any fluids in you.
Yeah.
So I had to go to urgent care and get them to put an IV into my arm to make sure that I actually had some kind of liquid.
Oh, Lord.
And they did like a chest x-ray to make sure I didn't have pneumonia and all that. Fine, whatever. It was okay. So it took until today for me to start feeling human again. I am back to feeling human now. The problem is I'm still like obviously sick and getting better. But now the problem is, Kathy's sick, who is really nice and took care of me the whole time, and now she's getting sick. And it's like, yep, that was inevitable. And so, needless to say, I had to cancel out on Holy Wars this week. Real quick here, Tom does have this photo, so let me go ahead and grab it.
Too.
Yeah, I saw. So I'll grab both of these. One moment here. These are both whip photos.
Yeah, both of them are in progress. So
yep, these are little whippy whips.
One doesn't have all the weathering done, I don't think.
Yeah, it doesn't. This is still earlier photos, but it'll give you an idea where we ended up. So give me a second here, Tom. I will bring that up for people. There we go. So this is the board Tom and I worked on. There you go. It's like a nice little underground sewer situation. This is still like work in progress as it's going along. But pretty cool. And then like all these nice little fluorescent radiated nuclear tiles and warpstone and pipes and stuff. So I think it was coming out pretty cool. And then, oops, wrong that direction. Sorry, this direction.
Oh, that
there
was
it is.
resin.
Yeah, there it is with some of the resin. You can see that yes, it actually does fluoresce in the black light. So pretty cool. Like all the things that are meant to glow do glow. So that's fun. Pretty cool looking, I think. But at any rate,
yeah, sweet.
There you go. Steve Zirk with a super chat. Happy 10th. I've never played or owned anything GW, yet I've watched this show since the end of second. I want to say thanks for great shows. I love the game theory discussion as much as you and your co-hosts and guests. Hey, thank you, Steve. That is deeply appreciated. That's amazing. And we're glad to have you along. And we love that stuff too. That's why I try to talk about it a lot. So yeah, our cool little glowing sewer system here. And yeah, it's even further along now. I was very happy with some of the things here. Just I'm not going to deep dive on it, but just real quick. Tyler, you see these like in the pictures, you see these like little hexagonal things and little broken up pieces and all this that are blue, and then these like nuclear green things that are down here. You know what those are? Wall tiles. I was like searching for cool, fun stuff. So I went and found like these backsplash wall tiles that you could like peel off and stick individually. And then some of those I took and just smashed them with a hammer and built that out, which is great. And then I forgot to calculate that like the bottom of the board is wood. Okay. Then all of that is tile around those platforms are tile. And then the bottom part, those are all individial tiles. And then
those
we
are like
dumped,
floor tiles.
Yeah, like floor, like backsplash wall tiles. And then we dumped like just like all the UV resin in the universe on this thing to make that entire area a pool. And after it was all said and done, I lifted this thing up. I was like, "Oh my god, this is going to be like this. We have made the heaviest display board
It's like
in
an
history."
80-pound board.
Yeah.
Wow.
I did not think about how much weight we kept adding to this thing. So there you go. Jim Crimmin says, "So did Ninjon just give up on the Skaven army challenge?" Look, let me tell you what. He has admitted defeat. On the last tup, he's like, "I've got my spearhead. That's what this really was." Moving the goalposts. This guy, I told him, I accept your surrender. Like literally, I texted him that. I paused the show and said, "I accept your surrender." So there you go.
Amazing.
Anyways, so yeah, this was a fun thing, and whatever. That's all whips. I'll share finished views of it. The other thing for hobby time here, just while we're on it, because Tom, you didn't even get to see this yet. Here you go.
I didn't.
Here's a big chunk of my Skaven, all rebased. Oops, don't pop up there. Pop up here. There you go. So here's with all my bases done, and I couldn't get everybody into a single picture, but it's a lot of people in the picture. So yeah. It's got like you can see the Brood Terror back there. Got my little Claw Lord guy. All my clan rats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're looking pretty cool. So
Man, they almost look as good as mine.
Almost.
Well, we can only hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I think these guys came out really well. So, yeah, got the whole unit of clan rats done. All I had left to do is I have Master Molder and the back of a single warp grinder, like half of a guy. So, if even. Yeah.
You boys got the pop thing down, both of you. Contrast, all about that contrast.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that zing. Absolutely.
Mine is like, yours still is like green. Mine is like green leaning into yellow.
Sure.
Like it's so outrageous. It's good.
Yeah. But at any rate, I'm happy because I've got, I mean, like my Grey Seer's done and like that basically got my full unit of clan rats done. I push myself. I will get these two guys done. And then I think I'll have, at that point, I think I have about 1,500 points painted.
That's exactly what I have. Funny story.
Like those two models, I think I am at 1,500 points. I got to recount, but yeah, pretty close. So pretty good. So anyways, that was my beautiful hobby plans that were then absolutely demolished when I then fell ill and couldn't return to this desk or hobby for like 3 solid days until tonight. So what do you do?
Doing better, man. Yeah.
So am I. Pat Noon says, so he retreated and didn't take D3 damage. Oh, he clearly does. Well, we're painting Skaven, so there's no penalty for retreating, obviously. Okay.
Hey Pat, were you doing the whores and chickens, or were you doing the Zangor heavy Zinch at your LVO? Carrying on a conversation here with Pat since I put him down accidentally earlier. Supposedly.
Sure. No,
supposedly.
I really thought you were talking about something else because it didn't sound like you said horrors.
Whoa. Different. We got whips and chains. Yeah. Apparently, I think I'm on a different podcast tonight.
I thought you were. Yeah, I thought you were going a different direction, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, shall we turn to the 10th anniversary spectacular-a-thon?
Sure. Why not?
Sure.
I don't think we got anything better else to do, Tom.
Yeah, seems like what it is. If you haven't hit like yet or subscribe or done those things that make cool dings, you should do that now. Gentlemen, I have a surprise for you, a thing you will not be able to hear because you're in this thing. So if you want to hear this, you will need to like mute out your audio and listen to it on your thing, which will not be a problem for Tyler since he has headphones in if he wants. Whereas Tom does not have headphones in.
I'm just going to mute my mic. It'll be okay.
That's fine. But here we go, folks. That's right. It is the official Warhammer Weekly Look Back. Tuck in. This took me too much freaking time for not that much value, so I apologize in advance. I was very sick, and this is the best I could muster. Thank you. Clip shows are, in fact, really hard to make. Here we go. Tuck in, everyone. I will pause this every so often, and we'll have commentary. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody, to the return of Warhammer Weekly. It's your weekly Warhammer news, rumor, and general fun hobby time roundup. It's a lot like SportsCenter, only about something interesting. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Warhammer Weekly, Week 2. That's right. I am Vince Venturella. We are here for another week of exciting rumors, roundup, discussion, Q&A, segments, exciting guests, so much in an hour. How can we provide this much value? The answer is simple, volume.
I like elves.
There you go. Good. Really drawing the audience in at the beginning. Welcome to a late night edition of Warhammer Weekly.
I was really happy.
If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer Weekly. Another Warhammer Weekly. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. Joining me as always is my co-host, Loki.
That is about the first time I came to actually close using that catchphrase. That's like 8 episodes in or something, by the way. I did not have that catchphrase down immediately. Just saying. So there we go. I also forgot this. I used to call you funny names, Tom. I forgot I used to call you funny names. But yeah, that happened for like 6 years. And then I just stopped doing it one day and pretended like it never existed.
Your Fellhart. How you doing, Tom?
Oh, I see how it is.
You
Hello,
got a
everyone.
squid face. Everybody, if it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. Warhammer the Age of Sigmar. That's right. Here we are. Boy, what a week. I would just like to start off by saying we were exactly right last week, so thank you very much. That was the last week of not knowing anything. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Here we are, ready with our Christmas edition of Warhammer Weekly. I'm your host, Ryan Seacrest, as always, bringing it to you, bringing the Christmas spirit. Joining me is my own personal Mrs. Claus. It's Tom. How you doing, Tom?
Really, Mrs. You get to be Seacrest and I'm Mrs. Claus.
Hey, it's Warhammer. Welcome to another edition of Warhammer Weekly, but not just any edition of Warhammer Weekly. No. Welcome to the one-year anniversary. This is the 52nd episode. It was 1 year ago, more or less today, that we started this little project. My good compatriot and co-host, Tom, and I. Tom, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good.
Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. That's right. We're back. Normal day, normal time. What's going on? The world has gone crazy. Here, joining me this week, as always, is my own little Wardroth beetle. I ride him around. It's Tom. How you doing, Tom?
It's too late. I don't have a good response.
Everybody, if it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. It's a late night show. I'm on the road. Tom had a bunch of stuff today, but as
two things about this as I was going back and making this. One, I love watching my basement evolve over time as I can see like all the things around me change as I slowly built out this basement since I started the show not long after I moved in. Two, I did love breaking your brain. I tried to anytime I had to watch a bunch of this crap. Well, by crap I mean our show. And anytime I could break your brain with the introduction was always like worth a clip, right? It also occurred to me like, man, I was in the hotel a lot in the early days because just like I was so often had to travel on Wednesdays. And then all of a sudden I noticed this randomly around 2020. I just didn't do hotel shows anymore. It was weird. I don't know what changed. Something.
As always,
weird.
We're not going to miss a week of Warhammer Weekly. So we have no guests tonight because we didn't know when or whatever we were going to be able to do this show. So Tom and I are just going to talk. It's going to be a little Warhammer Weekly after dark.
It's my own little familiar. It's Tom. How you doing, Tom?
Hello, friends.
Oh, my other thing is muted. Sorry, I had that up so I could listen to the comments. That's fine.
Way to ruin the show, Vince.
Right off the bat, delivering the low quality that people have come to expect from our show. Absolutely. Look,
I was the
Tom's
first one
here,
to have done that mistake.
He's here. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that Tom is here. I don't care. You don't care. It's irrelevant. Who's here? Oh, Rob cares. Yes.
Thanks, Rob. Zipper free. Hey, friends.
It's good to see it. Keep it up every week. That's not a one-time thing, Tom. That is a from now on, you need to be zipper free. Just be very clear about that.
But what if I like zippers?
You tortured many innocent
time
people
lag
with your awful noise. It was killing me the whole time. We've never had more complaints about an episode. I mean, it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly.
That zipper
We're
date
starting,
was
of
the
course,
worst
the normal
episode.
5 minutes late because of Tom. That's right. It's all Tom's fault. No one else's. It's just Tom. How you doing, Tom? Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer. And that must mean it's time for another episode
I got the
of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Tom. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, friends.
This is long but worth it.
Good to have you back, Tommy. You got headphones on today. Did you get new headphones?
No.
Oh, you have old headphones.
Yeah, I mean, these are headphones. I don't, I mean, I've had them for, I don't know, a while. Like
Great. I'm glad to see that you've had nice headphones for a long time and yet never put them on. So we've had echoes. That's good.
No, we don't have echoes on mine. Like, that's not my fault.
I hate you. All right. So also here, joining us for the first time, very happy to have him on. It's Mr. Haywo Twitch, or Joe, recent addition into the world of AOS, somebody who has a long experience in a lot of different competitive games, great insights. If you're not subbed to his channel, you'll find the link down below, and I highly recommend it. Joe, how you doing today, buddy?
Oh man.
Yo.
Day, pre-release day, whatever day it is.
I decided to get that whole clip because I love me arguing at Tom. The fact that the headphone joke came up earlier in the show, and I had already had that clip in there of you having headphones. And then at the end of all of that, Haywo was just like, yo. And that's it. Just like on point, this man. Shout out to both Martin Orlando and the Hobby Collab for the super chats. Congrats on 10 years. Totally wild. Here's to the next 10. Absolutely. The Legend Save events and at 100 paints every year. Boy, you're not wrong, Martin. That is all true. Okay, here we go. We'll keep going.
It's AOS Day! Woo!
That's right. Then it's time for us to do another mega show. It's been a while.
In the last year, can get in at the top of one in the new edition.
Look at what we're reviewing.
Or sure, or darn close to it, right? Or at least
like because of the new, because of all the changes, like all of them have the tools
Sacrosanct
to get in.
Stormcast review.
My point is, like, it doesn't mean
2018.
your whole army gets in. I'm clarifying.
Oh, that didn't age well.
Okay.
And then
Like,
a month later,
and you're sad
Beasts of
just 'cause you
Chaos
can't put the
review. I was
banner
like,
out?
oh
Is that what it
boy.
is?
Just that was a cursed month.
That's what I wanted him for. That's the only reason why I wanted that spell, was to actually add banners to the army.
Show just banging the loudest things around in the world. He basically was playing like a one-man band for the past 10 minutes. So that's what I've had to listen to.
You're just so bitter, Vince.
I am. I can't let everybody else not know that this happened. But also joining us, back again, he's back from the dead, and we're happy to have him on for what I'm sure will be another marathon show. I wasn't sure this was going to be super long.
Oh,
And
it's guaranteed now.
And now
Games Workshop guaranteed it.
Yeah, exactly. They knew you were coming on and said, we have to give everybody grist. It's Tyler Emerson. How you doing, buddy?
Insert You're catchphrase. just so bitter, Vince. I have to figure
Vince
out a
always
catchphrase
being the
at some
negative
point in the
one.
next 5 years.
Wa-da-da-da-da-da. Boom, segues. So
first of all,
no.
It's okay. What you said over the top of that right there was, I've got to get a catchphrase. And I was like, boom, that was 5. That right there, that episode is from 6 years ago. And you were like, I got to get a catchphrase. 5 years from now, I've got to have a catchphrase. And here we are, Tyler,
Never
6
happening.
years later. And you open the show by saying, I don't have a catchphrase. I love
Stuck
it.
in a time loop.
Exactly. Okay. Sorry, I'll go back to this real quick.
I wasn't sure this was going to be super long.
Oh,
And
it's
then-
guaranteed now.
And
Games
now,
Games
I just don't
Workshop
want you to miss
guaranteed it.
this, Tyler.
yeah,
I love this so
exactly.
much.
They knew you were coming on and said, we have to give everybody grist. It's Tyler Emerson. How you doing, buddy?
Insert catchphrase. I need a catch. I have to figure out a catchphrase at some point in the next 5 years.
Wa-da-da-da-da-da-da. Boom, segues. So let's.
And I am inclined to think that new faction is going to be ogres. And to step it up even one step farther, not only do I think it's ogres, I think we're going to get
No.
a fire eater's
Uh,
entire ogre line.
yeah.
What? Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer,
Good
and that
haircut.
must mean it's time for another
That didn't
episode
age well.
of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, and currently chewing on something there's like a little piece. Do you see this little piece of dust? What is this? Anyways, joining me, as always, is my good buddy Tom. How you doing, sir?
Hello, friends.
We're gonna have.
You didn't hear me chewing, did you?
I mean, like right at the beginning, there's probably a crunchy noise, but it's fine.
Hello,
Tom,
everybody. I purposely kept your chewing noise in because it was so loud when I kicked onto that episode. I couldn't believe it. And also, yes, folks, you are right. That was Tom's in 2018 official first prediction of the Island Fire Slayer ogres that he was expecting eminently to be released. Eminently. What's up, Plastic? I salute your oh boy, this word is so hard to say. Indefatigable. Indefatigable.
Didn't nail it, but that's fine. It was
Yeah.
better.
Nature. Here's to the next 10. Absolutely. Thank you. It's a great word. I love the word. It's just very hard to say. Anyways, I thought that was worth a grab. Absolutely. As soon as I realized that was in that show, I could not commemorate such an auspicious day. All right, here we go.
It's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for a very special show, the post-Adepticon reveal show. Here we are. Woo! Yeah, there you go. Very happy. He's excited. He's very excited. We're all very excited. Honestly, this is the show we were waiting for. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's fine. You know what? No. Screw this. Here we go. We're watching here. We're bringing this thing full screen. Enough of this nonsense. It's time. It is time for excess. Let's get through this beat by beat. Here we go.
Nice.
All right. We're going to get a better picture of her later.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
Wait, what
It's
year is this?
Wednesday, it's
The
Warhammer,
Witcher
and
Depth
that
Con?
must mean
2019
it's time
Adepticon.
for another
2019, okay.
episode of
When they
Warhammer
released all
Weekly.
the new Slaanesh.
Joining me, as always, my co-host Tom. What's up, buddy?
hello, friends. We're live. I just got the announcement.
Nice.
You
Yay!
fixed it.
I fixed it.
Congratulations, Vince. You
Oh my
figured out
God.
YouTube.
Well, isn't that wonderful? Good.
Joining me, as always, is Tom, and it's just Tom this week. Sorry, I got to get Tom situated here. There we go.
Sorry, folks. It's just me.
I just want to point out I've completely forgot about this entirely horrendous layout we had for some amount of time. Like, I forgot this
Yeah.
horrendous layout existed. Okay, but this was a show for like a year. This
Wow.
is wild to me looking back. I was like, this is ugly. How did I do this? And I was like, how long did this go on? Why did no one stop me? Boy, oh boy. And so anyways, yes, this was in like the dark time when Hangouts on Air went away and we could use other Hangouts. Just like had to keep switching to different things before eventually we came to Discord. This nonsense layout.
Just you. Yeah, I have a feeling the funniest thing just screwed up our stream, but I have no way to prove that. So we'll just say it did. I think it had to do with a time zone thing. As you can probably tell...
Everybody, if it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for the first episode of Warhammer Weekly of 2020. That's right. We're here. It's New Year's Day. Happy New Year's, everybody. If you're in the
We were
part
so
of the
hopeful.
world
It's the
where
dawn of
still New
2020.
Year's
What could
Day,
be bad?
which is not a whole lot of the world anymore, but that's okay.
All right, we're live. Hello, everybody.
If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode.
Of Warhammer Weekly.
There you go. I can never get Tom to be that on point. That's really nice.
I was pointing with 4 fingers. Cheers. Cheers to Tom. He can't be here today. Instead, I brought this plant.
Yes. It's pretty much the same thing. That's going to stand in. That's our Tom plan for tonight.
Same
As
lens.
to why things
There he
are low
is.
on this list.
Yep.
Okay. Possibility 1. People truly don't care.
I just
Okay,
grabbed this
like,
clip
that is to say,
because
they really don't consider it a negative.
I love
play,
the NP
right.
show so
That's
much.
one.
It was great.
One
I want to go
possible.
back and do another show on this sometime.
Option 2.
And I just thought it was
Frequency
fascinating to go
bias,
back and look at that show
right?
and see what
It
people rated
occurs
as the
so
highest things.
rarely.
And now they just wouldn't even.
Your
it would
read
look
of
totally different.
Gunshy when I say that the nature of playing this army is that when it felt like they could
That was
make
a great
interesting
show.
choices,
That
they
was one of my
made the
favorites
sort
of
of
all time.
meh choice instead. Not necessarily the worst, certainly not the best. It's sort of the Rise of Skywalker of books. It's pitching so down the middle as to be and trying to do so many things without any coherent strategy that it feels in the end incoherent.
Ow.
I love that this is going to be the start of the show. Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, hilariously, is my co-host Tom, who is currently, I guess, spilling something all over himself, as near as I can probably tell what's going on.
Shout out to Meth.
If
Miss
it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer,
Absolutely.
and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, as he has every day, every Wednesday for the past 6 years, is my co-host Tyler. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you back on.
Good to be here. Good to be here as always.
Never
Appreciate
missed
it.
a day. Joining us
Never.
for the first time, our first time he's been a guest on the show, Tom Lyons. You may not have heard of him, but he's a little-known player out of Kentucky. He's done. Mr. Haywo Twitch. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Yo.
Buddy,
things
if
remain
it's Wednesday,
consistent.
it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my one and only co-host. It's Tyler. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm gonna continue to ride that joke forever.
Forever.
I mean, I'm here for it.
It will never go away. So
Joining me, as always, is my co-host Tom, here to celebrate our 7th anniversary. And you've been with me the whole time, Tom. How's it feel?
Hello, friends. It's been a wonderful 7 years, and
This
I
is
am
when
happy
Tom
to
came
be
back
here.
after the dark times.
Look, here's the reality, folks. I'm gonna come clean. I've had a blind spot in this show, and that blind spot is what's happening over on the West Coast. And we have a man here who is here to correct that problem and set me on a righteous path. And that is Tom. What's up, buddy? How you doing? We've got a new, better replacement Tom. We've got West Coast Tom.
here to talk to us about West Coast Warhammer. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, thanks. Hello, acquaintances.
Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and it's time for a very unusual episode because it's another hotel show. It's been years since I've done a hotel show, but here we are, and I'm here with John.
Hi.
And Scott.
Hello.
We're all over in the UK because it's the, what are we here for? The Heresy Weekender. That's what this is called.
Heresy. Did you forget like momentarily?
That would not end well the next day.
Let's say no.
Not for everybody in this frame. I recently had some changes. You're going to be surprised, Tom, by the back of my house when you get here next month.
You guys put up a fence, right? Or did you do the whole deck?
I did the whole shooting match back there. So hence why this is now light as opposed.
Yeah,
to
I see that. Yeah, you have a window. I have an entire wall of windows right here. Hence why it's so bright during the day.
I never realized how much I liked living in my cave until the sunlight came in and I.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm bopping.
Yeah.
Jittery.
We were talking about it before show.
Tower.
There's a lot of energy tonight. Battle Tactics talking about this has got everyone hyped up because it's finally time. We've been dancing around this subject for too long, so tonight we answer the question, are battle tactics good or bad? Also joining us, and we never had to talk about it again. We got it all out in that episode. We settled the whole problem. Solved. Just solved it that one time. Lewis, thank you for $10 super chat. Working at the moment, but I dropped in just for a sec to say Vince, Tom, and Tyler, and everyone else who has helped out with Warhammer Weekly over the years to thank you. I always look forward to my Thursday night hobbying with Warhammer Weekly. Awesome, buddy. Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. This is the show where we'll settle it. Battle tactics, good or bad? You find fun.
What Vince is saying is that if you don't play it this way, you're wrong.
That's not at all what I'm saying. It's exactly the opposite. You got the wrong message. Joining me, as always, he's back. He thought he was gone, but no, it's Tom. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hello, friends.
The kitchen that you're seeing behind me.
There you go. Tom had to watch an ad real quick.
This just doesn't touch everybody.
That is 7 years after I made the initial mistake
something
once.
the hallmark of the season.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
For some armies that it's just not a thing for them.
Yeah.
Really, like, there are armies that just don't have meaningful unbinds. So, like, they're just not. They're like.
That's yeah.
They're not
that's
even...
that's what he was getting at with his richer. The rich are going to get richer. Poor.
No, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
Still terrible.
I remember the one game we played where we said, "Do you guys just not want to do this?" And they were like, "No, I don't. We don't want to do this either." And we were like, "Thank God! All right, let's play a fun game.
We're just going to ignore that.
Let's actually just play Warhammer instead of whatever the heck this is." And there you go. Boom. There's your look back, gentlemen. How about that?
Somebody have told me how soft-spoken I am? That would have been helpful information to know. Oh, my God.
All right. So there you go. That's a quick little trip down memory lane. Obviously, I tilted a little more of the clips toward like the early 5 years than the latter 5 years because, we remember more recency bias and all that. But yeah, I thought there were some really fun ones in there. The fact that like Tom, the number of times, by the way, I cut it down, but the number of times where you had some other random BS start on your other computer. Okay. Like was just, I was like, well, these are just going to get too much if I just clip every one of these things. Right.
Yeah, I forgot about all the names at the start in the earlier shows. Yeah.
Yes, like for so long, I had always introduced Tom with a funny name, right? Yeah. And I actually lost it myself because when I listened to one of the initial ones, I introduced you as like William Henry Harrison. Say hello, Tom. And you were like, and you just picked up with it, and I was like, that's weird. Were we talking about something beforehand where I was making like a president joke? And then because I forgot that was my bit, and then as I kept listening, I was like. Oh, right. This was a bit that I did for years.
Mm-hmm.
Years.
Yep. Just completely like ignored it as best I could and moved on. It's funny. Man, I lost some weight.
You
like
there
were a couple rounds.
You both did.
Like, ooh,
yeah.
Doesn't look good.
Somebody commented on Vince. Yeah, Vince got skinnier. I mean, Vince wasn't very big to begin with, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's it was certainly a journey, like watching the basement around me evolve, the camera angle, like, because in the beginning I was always from like right here on the side of my face. I just hated that camera angle, but I kept it for so long.
And you weren't looking at the camera.
No, exactly. Yeah, like, I don't know.
You're like interviewee camber number 3.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, all right. So here's what I'm going to do. I want you guys to go for a second. I need to step away. I do have to go help Kathy because, like I said, she's not feeling well. I just need to go take care of something for her real quick. I normally never leave, but I have to take care of my wife. So I want you to just reminisce. I prepped you up with all this. Talk about some stuff. Just go. I will be back 100%. In just a moment.
Okay, so Tom.
Okay.
Yeah. So Tom, I mean, I felt like we should have had some clips of. I mean, I think it's fair to say, like, we had some angry Tom earlier on, right in those earlier years, like 2016. We had some good angry Tom.
2016, 2017. Like Vince did me and the show a favor by not bringing back the clips of either my Tomb King rants. Right?
Yep. Those were
because
good.
if you'll remember, the Tomb King stuff dropped like 2016, and then like fast forward a year, and then the KO stuff drops, and then they pull the rug on the KO stuff. Like,
oh god, yeah, you were so pissed off about KO. Yeah, with what did they do? They updated War Scrolls in the battle. What was it? With the War Scrolls changing?
FAQ'd, they released all of it.
Yeah.
And I ordered like 10 boxes of Thunderers, and then they changed the War Scroll so that you couldn't, like, originally you could do weapons in any combination on the units, and then like within like 3 or 4 months, because it came out in May, and by August on the next GHB they changed it so that it, like, the War Scroll mapped to what was in the box.
Okay.
And so I had spent like just an asinine amount of money, and then they like within like, and by the way, the week before that, I just got my unit of 10 Thunderers with Aether Cannons all painted. Like literally the week before, it was my first unit that I finished painting for KO. And I was not.
Yep. So missed that. We probably could have had more. Called it, nailed it. It's fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. Not much of that in there. You know, I mean, he missed an opportunity. Like, I feel like my number one on the board for me is misremembering who a certain Gavin Greiger is. I took so much crap for that, because when I said that, though, I can't remember what show that was on. Like, I knew who he was, but I was just blanking in the. You know, it's like you get on camera, you're on the show, your mind leaves you sometimes. I don't know. It happens to me sometimes. And I took so much crap for that, deservedly. Yeah, I'll still get a reference to that every once in a while. Yeah.
Paul just said Tom spent at least $500 on all the Thunder kits. Wrong. I spent $1,000. Do you know how I know that? Because in order to build all those Thunder kits, it was a Fire Slayer conversion, so all of them had Mohawks. So that means that for every one model of KO, I had to have a model from Fire Slayers because of the way that Mohawks dropped. So
yeah, that was the thing.
That is the
thing. What else stands out looking back at those clips?
You know, it's interesting. Some of my favorite shows I think we did were shows in which we were wrestling with like the realities of the meta, and trying to and trying to like help the community make sense of what they were experiencing. And so like the meta show was a fantastic one, or like trying to talk through like whether we were talking about the battle tactics show, or whether we're talking about the MPE show, or any of those, like helping people give language to what they were experiencing. I think that some of those shows have been my favorite.
You guys did a really good one. I'm trying to remember the details on it. I know at the time it was one of my favorite. It's one of the guys who's been involved in statistics in the community. It wasn't Rob or the other Rob. It was on like analyzing win rates and like making sense of the internals of the data. Vince probably knows the episode that I'm talking about. Vince, you know the show you guys did? It was on like win rates, and you had a guy in the community who's been involved in statistics and analyzing the data. I can't remember what show that was.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Are you talking about the one with JP Gannis?
JP Gannis, yes. Yeah,
yeah. I'm really familiar with a lot of the shows since I did go, and I was like, that was one of the ones I wanted to try to grab a clip from.
Yeah.
But the problem was there just wasn't like it. I had to find like clippy things that I could get, 10 or 15 seconds in, and usually those easy things were at the beginning when there was a screw up, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like absolutely one of my all-time favorites. Was that one where like, the one with JP, 100%.
I hear a lot of reference to the Magic show, which I need to go back and watch. That you guys did with Halo, I believe.
Oh sure, where Halo laid out the commanders for every army.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh, that's good sound there. JP from the spot. There it is. Yeah. Yeah. I was just mentioning my number one on the board for me events. I was surprised you didn't pull a clip of the Gavin Gregor screw up. I'll still be at an event and I'll take crap for that. Yeah.
I would have. Like, part of it is just like, I mean, going through, shockingly, it took me a little while to like, even scrubbing through like relatively quickly or like you zipping around through episodes, it's still hard to watch. I mean, we have 500 and like I said, like 520 shows, and they're all like, they started at an hour, but then they very quickly went beyond that. So it's just like, wasn't tenable. I don't know how people actually make real clip shows of stuff like that. Oh my God.
Sure.
So anyway,
that's what they do as a full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah, it would take a professional editing crew to go and cut all that together. Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, and you're talking about, I mean, that's probably 2,000 hours of content at least.
Oh, how many actual hours?
Yeah, because if we did 520 shows.
Well, so many of the early shows were only like an hour to an hour and a half.
So let's say it this way, at least 1,000 hours of content.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, no doubt about that. I would bet it'd be more closer to like, I think 3 hours is probably the average overall this time. Just because there are a bunch of those big long shows that like drift on. Any time where Tyler was on in the early days, certainly that would get long.
There it is.
Always.
There it is.
But there was also, absolutely. But there's also like the super, there's like the very crazy super long mega shows, like when they would do like when we do get like whole new mega drops of something, like there was a couple of shows I looked at that were like 8 hours long for the new editions and stuff like that.
Yeah, right? The new edition with the compendiums, we would do all of it in a single sitting.
Yeah. Show. Yep. And yeah, Dadbot says just a clip show. Just me clipped 1,000 times going, sure.
To be clear, yeah.
What was the longest show?
Slanesh show, right?
No, because the Slanesh show was only like 6 hours. We did do a couple 8-hour ones.
Yeah, we did a couple that they actually cut off the show. Like Google Hangouts ended the show.
Yeah, which it capped at 8 hours.
It capped at 8 hours. And so we cut it there and then jumped and created another one and started a live stream for a new like continuation. And again, it was, I think, the compendium shows or the new edition General's Handbook like assessment.
Yeah. Raven 900%. Yeah, I probably had a lot of those. Anyway, yeah, so you got some other surprises planned for us here?
Well, that was the big clip show surprise. There you go. Now I've just got a whole thing. I thought I'd structure the conversation, of course. And that's just like, I wanted to kind of talk about Warhammer, the Age of Weekly. So what I broke this into the great eras of this show, okay? For us to kind of just talk about and ruminate on. And audience, I want this to go. Then after this, there'll be a little Q&A portion. That's what's coming. That's how the show is going to be structured tonight. So now it's time for Warhammer Age of Weekly. So let me go ahead and timestamp this.
I think this is officially your favorite image over the years. This image, which
I like
choice.
It.
You chose well. Yeah,
it is a good image.
He is.
Yeah, not a compelling character, but it's a nice image.
Oh,
yeah.
So
here's a question: why didn't we get a re-release of that guy?
Right. Yeah, it's got to be coming. Yeah, you'd think, but totally.
That's one model that I could just never get around to buying because of I just hated the sculpt.
Sure.
It's my favorite model.
I mean, even this literal image of him is way more dynamic than the actual model. It's crazy that when they redid all the prosecutors and everything, we didn't get a new version of him with a similar treatment. Instead, we just got the other guy. But
the other guy, sure.
Okay. Richard Reed says best era was the Tomless era. Sarcasm. I love Tom. Yeah, got him.
Team Tom always, baby.
So here are the great eras. Like if we carve away the rock face, right? And we look at the strata of the eons that have passed. Here's how I label them. So first off, let's start here. Pre-Age of Sigmar. Remember, this show started before Age of Sigmar was a thing. Okay,
the end
January.
times.
That's right, January 28th, 2015, 10 years ago. There was no, like, we knew something was coming. We knew the end times was going on. But it started during the end times, the release of all that stuff. Tyler, I don't know how much you were even tuned in or really paying attention at that point. Probably not much at all, right?
Not at all. I was transitioning out of the Bay Area. Yeah, coming back to Missouri during that time frame. So, yeah. I was out of it. Vince says otherwise online. Yeah.
So, Tom, this was the period of time when we were like, covering the end times lead up, and like all the guests that were on at that time. It's the old Warhammer Fantasy crew, Sustainable Center, Lord Tremendous, Demonic Orchard, all those people.
It's back when we were a tight hour because we had shows that followed us in programming.
That's right.
So like we had to end by 9. It was an 8 to 9 show. We had to end by 9 because
so we could kick over to Materium show.
Yeah, to hand off to Materium. Yep. That's right, folks. We used to be part of a network-ish.
That was the idea, right? Yeah, we're going to build this whole evening of Warhammer. Like, it'd be like Thursday night on NBC only for Warhammer, right?
Because who did, so somebody did Warhammer Weekly before you guys?
So that was who you saw in the very first of that clip. That was Nick from Long Island Wargaming. He and like a couple of people did a couple episodes of a show called like Warhammer Weekly, and he did it kind of interspersed a few times, and he just kind of let it die. And I had already been doing hobby cheating and stuff at that point, and I kind of went to Kathy and I was like, hey, I think I want to pick this up. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And I reached out to Nick and I was like, do you have any problem with me taking this mantle? And he was like, no, it's fine. We're not going to use it. He's like, I'm not really that into it. So I had him on for the first show for the official like sort of handoff. You could see him there as the guest in the lower right of the first one.
I was not in the first episode.
What's that?
I wasn't in the first episode. You came back to me later and was like, hey, will you do this?
Oh, I mean, you're the first at that. You're in that first official episode, in that 28th. I throw to you.
I don't think so. Go ahead and double check. I don't think that I was. I don't know.
This is you, right here, in this clip. This is you. This is Nick. This is the first episode.
No,
I'm with Tom on this one.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I can literally see you on the screen right here.
Why?
I even introduce you.
Yeah, that's
the
like Seraphon's a real army. I think Tom's right on this one. Right, we can
there you go, sure.
Ridiculousness.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun reviewing the end times and like playing all the different crazy rules and all the different stuff that was coming out there at the end of
You did a road trip around there too, didn't you?
I did.
You went and played with all the personalities or a bunch
of
personalities?
Right, yeah. In June of 2015, right before the launch, I did this 8-day road trip. I drove around the country I played with, went to Jersey and hung out with the Sustainable Center and played some games with him. Then went down to North Carolina, hung out with Once Bitten, hung out with Matiram and his whole crew. So played games with all them. Then I drove to Texas and hung out with Demonic Orchard. Then I went to Louisiana and came back to Louisiana and hung out with Lord Tremendous and played games with his whole group. That's where I met Death Holy Death, the guy who would in like a month after I met him become very famous for lighting his army on fire.
Yep, the Doc Army. Yep.
And then I drove up to see you and played a game with you, and then I came home. So it's about 8 days, about 4,000 miles. So yeah.
Yep.
All Warhammer. So at any rate, yeah, that was all part of the pre-Age of Sigmar, and then obviously you saw the actual official launch in there, of AOS. I pulled our first show at AOS. That was the one where I was like, the prediction from the last week was we're going to know everything, and that was when the dam broke, because that was right when we were. I cut the part of the clip, and I talk about how like I went away to a marathon. We had like a D&D marathon that weekend, and then the world just exploded. I was literally sitting at Hofbrau House eating like some kind of sausage situation, I believe, on the way down to your house.
Headed down to a marathon, yeah.
Yeah. When all the images and everything broke. So, and everybody was like, "What is this?"
Was that the beginning of our Eberron game?
Would it have been the very first one? It feels like that couldn't have been the first one, right? That couldn't have been the first one, because that's only like 2015. And that Eberron game went for like 9 years, I thought. So that had to be like game 2 or something. It certainly was the Eberron game, but I don't know. Anyways, pre-Age of Sigmar, short time period, but a fun period. All right, here we go. Tyler, this is when you can probably tap in, okay? Era 2. What I will call the AOS beta period. And yeah, Dadbot, yeah, I played with Lord Tremendous. He's still making bat reps by there for the old world, so he's still out there. Good dude. Lord Tremendous is always a great guy. All those guys were awesome. Materium was great. Sustainable Center was great. OB was awesome. He's off doing other things now. I think he's in Germany now. So, at any rate, the AOS beta phase. So this is basically, Tyler, this is everything from the launch to like when there's no actual rules, right? This is like launch to basically first GHB. So 2015 to 2016, the 1 year.
Home-baked point systems.
Yes.
Community point systems.
Exactly. So like the
and our version of Mordheim, if you'll remember.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was good. I do remember. Yeah, reviewing that. Yeah. It was quite an effort you guys did on that. That was a big project.
It was a big project, but hey, when the normal rules are letting you down that bad, I guess you gotta,
It wouldn't be the first time. We did it with D&D too.
Yeah, sure, exactly. I like rewriting game rules when they're bad. At any rate, yeah. So things that stuck out to me here, yeah, exactly. What was it? South Coast G, like you had Mo's points originally, and then it became the South Coast GT points, right?
Yeah, we had Mo. We had like Azir points, I think, or something like that. There was another one that I'm forgetting. Yeah, MoComp became South Coast GT, which was Russ. Oh my God, the names are escaping me. I'm getting old, guys. Names are escaping me as I get. Anyway, getting sidetracked, but yeah, it was
Heelan.
a whole bunch of folks.
Heelan?
Dan, yeah, and Wayne,
yeah,
and there were some others. Probably the Bad Dice. What's the name of the guy? Bad Dice.
Ben Curry.
I think he was involved. Ben Curry. He was involved in that effort. Yeah,
yep.
It was a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
Yes, the people who built up basically what made the game playable, gave us an actual playable version of the game, because it turns out, no, you can't just put your toys on the table and just be like, yeah, that looks about right.
Yeah.
Turns out people don't like that. So there you go.
Funny story. I remember my first AOS game, where my friend Topher had set up across from me, and he had a bunch of like random Seraphon stuff. And I was like, oh, we're allowed to just put models down, so we had a rough model count. And I was all like, Phoenix Guard and Sisters of Avalorn. That game did not end well for him. I don't think he actually made it into my line.
Sure.
Yeah. Because points didn't really exist. That's not really
right.
a thing. As an aside, I just want to name this. Like, yes, this is our 10th anniversary show. This weekend is also the 10th anniversary for Holy Wars.
That's right.
Awesome.
Yeah. That is correct.
So that Holy Wars premiered right around the same time too.
Yeah, it's very early.
Yeah. This was such a crazy time, because like this time we were talking about things like, there was like a Dreadhold book that comes out. It's like, okay, let's talk about this thing. It's like, okay.
I have that downstairs.
Sure.
The Ever-Chosen Collector's Box.
It's so insane to me that like this was the way they launched this flagship game, and it's still somehow here. The amount of goodwill that this community must have towards GW, because this was the worst launch of a game potentially in history.
In history.
Truly.
Okay.
Truly.
certainly by any major company.
Yep.
Right. And just like it failed in every single regard, except it did have some cool models. Like I'll say that there were some cool models, but even those were sparse at the beginning, right? We weren't getting much in the way of new models. They clearly had no plan for what they were doing with the game. You had like weird tomes that weren't really tomes. They were just kind of like art books and hobby books, but they didn't really have any sense or logic to them. Like, why did this particular little weird subset get a call out and not like, why does Pestilence have their own book? Right? It was just, it was wild how utterly fail-tastic this launch was. It showed a complete lack of planning, clarity, or business acumen from anybody in any level of decision-making authority in this company.
And disconnect from the community. Like,
right.
I think that also needs to be named. Like, this was the era, the season from GW where like they were 100% disconnected from the community and weren't doing social media, weren't doing any of that type of engagement. They were media silent in that sense. And so they decided what the game was going to be and then launched it, and everybody was like, what? Like, what is this?
Am I hallucinating, guys, that they allowed models to be placed on the basis of other models with the original?
Yeah. The basis
I'm not hallucinating that.
Bases didn't exist. Initially, bases didn't exist. Measurement was from the model, and so it didn't matter what the base was like because there was no standardized base sizes.
Yeah, crazy.
Like, it was so unplayable, and we all just, for some, like, as a community, we all said, you know what? Well, not we all. A lot of people didn't. Let me just say that. The numbers were small. Tyler, you were there at you were there in at Adepticon 2016, right?
I was one of the.
I think that's where I met and hung out with you in person for the first time.
Yeah. Brad was there. Andrew game. She was awesome. I didn't understand the whole. You leave you pick up. I'm having a brain fart on camera. You leave your hits, you pick up your misses. There we go. Got there. I didn't understand that rule. Anyway, yeah.
Yep. And I think that first tournament there at Adepticon 2016 was what, 64 people? Does that memory serve? Something about that number?
2016?
Yeah, 2016,
yeah.
Oh, dude, it was at Adepticon? Man, it was
like
like 36 people.
There was 30 in 2015. Okay.
Where you're talking about 2015.
And then 2016, the first time we had rules.
No, because we were still using a compact then. There was no GHP yet at Adepticon 2016.
Yeah, no, there was no AOS at 2015.
Yeah.
AOS came out in July.
2015
so 2016 was the first.
I really think it was about 60 people. I think that's
at the first? Was that when I played my Nurgle?
No, I don't think you were there in 2016.
I think that was 2017.
You came for the first time in 2017.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Guys, I'm almost positive it was like 30 something people. It was really small. David was there. David won it. David Griffin won it with his Platonia.
Yeah,
and we were not using it wasn't SCGT, it was something else. I can't remember the name of it. Like it wasn't Azir. It may have been Azir. Anyway, yeah. But it wasn't SCG. I don't even think SCGT had been created yet.
David year one. I was at year 2 because I was on table 2 against Caleb Walters in the final game, and I lost to Caleb, and Caleb hopped table 1 and won year 2.
Yeah, gotcha. And this was Alex ran it exactly. Paul is correct. Paul says, "Yep, I was at the first. Alex ran it, and Heel and Hammer came over. It was tiny. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Like I remember, just it was a small little group of people. Yep. It was not big that year, but hey, that was all right. It was wild to me that, anyways, from this like ramshackle thing, that small core of us all decided, that no, we like this enough. We think there's something here. We'll take it from here. And then happily, this also marked a turn where they started basically paying attention to the community and brought in a lot of those people who, who actually worked on these point systems and brought them in to consult and then help make one of the first GHBs. And actually, hey, what if we actually gave armies, rules? And what if we actually had points of some kind? What about that? What about that then? Crazy. And that leads us...
Dan, Russ, all those guys.
Exactly, all coming in,
part of that core group. Yeah.
Yep. That leads us to AOS 1.0. Bum 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 bum. Which was really didn't have a launch box because the actual launch of AOS 1.0 was technically, the birth of the GHB. Yeah. Yes. So it was like this. It was GHB 2016. That's what I mark. That's my demarcation line. So basically, AOS 1.0, actual 1.0 was only 2 years, right? Because it was 2016 and 2017 before the new 2.0 came out. So this is like the Wild West days, though, where we had rules, but they were just, everything was just crazy off kilter, wildly unbalanced, right? This is your era of Vanguard Wing and other such assorted nonsense, right?
Yeah.
What do you remember from this period?
I mean, looking back, all of those games played torturing people with tables full of Sylvaneth Wildwoods sitting on objectives. Just like a whole table of terrain, of faction terrain, in addition to the like that just seems insanity looking back on it. Those big old Citadel wood bases.
Yeah.
I had this cart where you could fit a small child in it that I'd wheel around because everything was magnetized. I didn't want things to get messed up. Yeah, just wheeled that around at multiple Adepticons. Yeah.
This was a broken era of just like play experience that today would be deemed unacceptable in every way, shape, and form.
Vanguard Wing.
Mm-hmm. Vanguard Wing.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Goutfire Scorch. No roll Sylvaneth wins. Calruck. Yeah, there you go.
Calruck. Was that different than Moo Clan? Oh, Moo Clan I think was before Calruck. Or Cunninruck. Yeah, Cunninruck. Yeah, Moo Clan was what Brad did with the Thunder Tusk and the Gobos, and it was a nightmare. Yeah. Bloodletter Bomb, that was a good one.
Yep.
Yeah, that was totally cracked.
Yep.
Mortals on Fours, Sail the Faithless, giving them fly. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Plague Touch Warband. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Plague Touch. Oh yeah.
Nurgle Alpha blocking. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Was that what you were doing? Plague Touched?
Yeah. That was mine. Yeah. Was the Nurgle Alpha block with Sail, throwing 30 Chaos Warriors forward on 2 up, 5 ups, 5 ups because you.
Because it was that year at NashCon 2016 when I brought my Zinch and I played Tom and I was like.
And we live streamed it. We started to live stream it, and at one point Vince is like, "I'm going," and I was like, "What do you mean you're going?" And you're like, "I'm gonna go get a drink," and you're like, "Keep playing," and he was like, "I don't care."
Yeah, I just don't care. It's fine because it was so pointless playing against that army. It was like,
great. Tyler played me and beat me at NashCon that year.
He was playing no rolls win Sylvaneth. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. His goal was to not attack me.
Yeah, he didn't need to actually roll anything to win.
Oh yeah, I was pinning you with the True Lord Ancient, with the Moonstone of the Hidden Ways, where you could like teleport and you could land outside of 6 or something. So you'd have an easy charge with that thing, and it was impossible to kill because it's on a 2-up save, like re-rolling save. Yeah, that was a good time. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I remember that moment because I knew you guys. We were getting along well at that time. Yeah. But I had never seen Vince just so not pissed off, but like I didn't understand your reaction to that game with Tom. Like he was just like forlorn and had like he was ready to kill himself. It's like he doesn't he's questioning his existence.
Yeah,
it's like why am I operating as a human on this planet anymore? Why?
Yeah, because it was just like the least rewarding Warhammer game I've ever played.
Yeah.
I don't
Thank you,
know.
Mayabi, for the super chat. By the way, you said happy 10th anniversary. Thank you, Mayabi. Really appreciate it.
Are you sure that it was more soul crushing than against Sean and Jake when your Maw Crusher couldn't move because of trees?
It was much worse because that was just one silly thing that happened because of a weird interaction of rules that like Sean and Jake didn't intend for. They weren't like sitting there going like, ha ha ha, I'm going to put this tree up your Maw Crusher's butt and so it can't go anywhere, okay? Your whole army was you're going to spend this entire time rolling a lot of dice and nothing's going to change except maybe you'll have less of your army than when you started. How rewarding.
Right.
Yes, this is the worst. This is the infamous worst game I've ever played. Like I've never...
Yeah.
I had a game at a tournament this last year. Okay. Also at NashCon, ironically. Where the player quit on me at the top of one. Just like quit. Just quit the game. Okay.
I heard this story. Yeah.
And like they dropped on me with an ambush unit. I said okay. And then I redeployed. And then they failed the charge. And then they argued with me about the measurement because they said I bumped the stick. And I was like, okay, well, I'll move the fig like a quarter of an inch back if you think I moved him. And I laid the sticks down and it still didn't complete the charge. And he was like, okay, I quit. And he left. That was a much more rewarding game than Tom's game. Because that game was over in 10 minutes. Okay? I made one meaningful decision, choosing to redeploy.
Yeah.
Yes, it wasn't exactly, hey, whoa, 4+, rerollable, 5+, 5+, 6+. Yeah, exactly. I've got my 3 ward saves here on top of my rerollable save. This is all normal, right?
Yep. Yeah. And coherency, like as long as you didn't move, it didn't matter. And so I just pull models out. And it was before the Holy Within rules got written into the rules. And so I could have like one model within range to buff. And so you laid everything out and then just made everybody fight it and then slowly picked things up from all across the board. And it was a nightmare.
Yeah, Brendan and you were truly terrible during those times. What the two of you were doing.
I can look at rules that have been written into Warhammer and went, I did that, or they did that because of me.
Shout out to Change Host with Old Horrors. Hey, well, absolutely. Nexus Sphinx being the only model with Ren 4. Yeah, Tristan, I remember that. Yeah. I wonder how many people have no idea what we're talking about with all this.
Oh, I mean, the important part to remember about AOS 1 was, yes, a lot of those things that we think of now as staples just weren't there. Like you said, like model coherency, right? Like that next year at NashCon, I would fight Brendan in like game. He was like my loss with my Iron Jaws, and where that game loss, he was piloting Nagash and like 100 skeletons or whatever, right? 120, I don't remember, or something.
120, I think.
Egregious number of skeletons. And, if I didn't, I blew up one of his units completely and took the other one down to one skeleton. But one skeleton was all he needed. Because then on his turn, he literally popped them back up and marched them all the way across the board as he regened them to my objectives and started looping around my objectives and taking them. Like literally in the recursion from his side of the board where I had pinned him, he crossed the entire DMZ, got to my objective, and then crossed to another one. Like this big L-shaped conga line of skeletons just popping out of the ground.
Yeah.
Just jump in the line, all just Harry Belafonte all day long. Yeah, exactly. Ridiculous. Like this was just truly still like there were rules, but let's be real. AOS 1.0 was still like the Wild West for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like the beta period is when you just had explorers or somebody, going out west or something like that, or sailing off into adventure. But AOS 1.0 is when it's like the Wild West, right? Like there's towns.
The prospectors. That's when the gold rush, when everybody went out there and we're just like, this is my land.
There's railroads. There's theoretically rules, right? It's civilization, kind of, but let's be honest, right? The peace is earned at the end of a gun.
There's Mitch.
Yeah. Hey, Mitch is here. Yes. Mitch, when I was going through, it was also fun to look at a lot of guests and stuff like that. Mitch was a common guest, sir. We had a lot of great times on the show together. Absolutely. Just hop in here to see what this AOS thing is all about. Does it have any legs? Time will tell, Mitch. Time will tell. Haywo was right. AOS 1.0 was Johnny Candyland. No guardrails, just whatever.
Truly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's just finding the most broken, nonsense, ridiculous stuff. Mitch, here's the question for you. Since you're here, Mitch, did you ever finish that Bretonnian army? Because we made a joke. I was going to keep the joke in the clip show, but I had to cut down to I didn't want that clip show to be like 30 minutes long. But I was going to keep the joke where I said you'll be done with your army by the time Tom's kid graduates college. Well, here we are. It's like 9 years later. His kid's not going to college yet, but how we doing on that army, Mitch? Did you get everything done? All right. So that was 1.0. Good times, I think. But you know, crazy times as well.
Yeah.
That then leads us into AOS 2.0. Of course, this is when I think most of us see the game as like sort of coming into its own. They sort of, okay, it's a real rule set now, right? And we have real rules and real books and real armies. We're going to be real boys now.
AOS 2 for me was the golden era. Like that was truly the era of like, it felt like it was some of the most balanced games and scenarios and like competitive experiences that AOS has produced.
Interesting. Huh.
Like when I think about the height of like of kind of the competitive scene, to me that is the era that really stands out.
Sure. By the way, Mitch, well done, buddy, well done. He did get it finished. It was a big army and 100% converted undead Bretonnians. I remember. I saw it in person. Nice. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, you know, this had like the Night Haunt launch, right? If you think that was the big launch here. It introduced Sacrosanct. Oh boy, that didn't age well. That was what was so funny. That's why I had to keep that clip in. We might as well. I was trying to find a clip where we were going to say this is going to be the face of Stormcast for years to come. I was hoping we said something like that, but you know we weren't that silly, so that would have been great.
That would have been amazing.
But yeah, like I mean, there were dark times in AOS 2.0. This led to this led to Hot Ghoul Summer, right? This was the 2019 during AOS 2.0. Was the summer of the great, you know, twin towers of Slaanesh and FEC just stomping all over everything.
Well, and what preceded those was Doc, if you'll remember.
Yep.
Right, like Doc was firing on all cylinders.
Yep.
Didn't we have? And that was Clown Car, right? Around that time.
Clown Car was before that. Clown Car was at the end of season 1.
And then that was Change Host as well with the Skyfires. That's right. That was 2017 period. Okay, Clown Car and that. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Yep. And then the next year we got a new edition.
Right.
Which was the end of the second edition. So the launch of Night Haunt, which was terrible. And then you get into like 2018, 2019. There's still some Tzeentch on the table. A little bit of Change Host. It had been nerfed a couple times, but it was still showing up. Vanguard Wing was gone at that point.
It was evocators and sequitors.
Evocator,
sequitur spam. Even 20 sequitors, 10 evocators, even ballista for a while. But
sure charge.
Sure charge. Yeah.
Good old Gavi. Yes, exactly. Like it was. And that summer was when you had, like, this was obviously when I was having a lot of fun playing my Keepers of Secrets, when Keepers of Secrets were actually really good and felt like scary greater demons.
Like, it's fine. They're fine. It's balanced.
It's perfectly fine.
I wish you had some clips of us talking about Slaanesh, and you're like, it's fine. It's balanced.
Yeah.
The copium. Yeah.
If I would have had more time, I would have loved to go through, like, I really would have had to scrub for this. It would have taken, like, days. But I was like, you know, in my dreams, I would have had time to do it had I not been ill. But I wanted to go through and pull all of our like worst predictions or worst copes calls. Or whatever, you know. I was going to try to find that stuff. And yeah, my treatment of Slaanesh would have been one of them, right? But yeah, you know, I was like, AOS 2.0, I don't know. There was a lot of things about it I liked. This is still when you bought battalions, right? This was a thing you paid for.
We had no battle tactics. Most events were running secondary objectives, some form of secondary objectives.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So this was when you guys created
the stuff for NashCon we had done at the end of first edition, and that carried at NashCon up until functionally third edition. They were still running the secondary objectives. So all during second edition.
Got it.
Adepticon had its own secondary objective structure.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So like if you'll remember, like we didn't have secondary objectives, and GW's solution going into third edition was to bake those into the game using battle tactics.
Yeah. Careful what you wish for.
Not wise.
Yeah. Not like this. Okay, got it. Yeah,
exactly right. Not like this.
Yeah. Okay.
Indeed.
And yeah, but like, I don't know, man. 2.0 had a lot of frustrations for me in it, for sure.
Yeah.
But, and there are a lot of like quality of life things that are there. It's just funny how we always, there was a lot of bright times during this version. That's what I was saying.
And we lost the last year of that edition to COVID.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Like the last year of 2 was COVID.
The last 6 months, but yeah, or whatever. Sure.
Wasn't worth keeping, Tom. It was horrific.
Or no, you're right. Sorry.
I'm right.
No,
we
you're
lost
right. The last full year. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're right.
Because if you remember, there were no events. There was nothing during that last year's second edition.
All TTS.
You're absolutely right.
And then suddenly, like, we came out of COVID and third edition arrived, and we're like, oh, okay, well, let's give this a shot.
Cast says, can't forget the Cursed City incident in 2.0. Oh boy. Sure. Yeah, that's absolutely.
Now, guys, the COVID, as you should probably remember, the COVID era of 2.0 was the full-on power projection era, right?
Yeah.
After we'd got past, it was just power projection army after army after army. Seraphon, Tzeentch, Lumineth, it was dominating TTS.
Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
I was trying to play,
Because that was, if you remember, so over 2019 summer, you had what I call Hot Ghoul Summer, right? So that's FEC and Slaanesh dominating. Because there were no shooty forces of any power that had been released, right?
We talked about this before. The thing I always found weird is we did have some shooting. It just never came in the fold. We had the poster army with long strikes that people could have been running. And I don't know, it's the one thing in the nearly 10 years of this game in the meta's history that I still don't quite understand. Like, I think we had at least some natural, predators or whatever, counter, right, to what was going on. And it didn't come to the fore.
Yeah.
I always found that so strange.
The long strikes were 2 wound models. Like, so the problem is that as soon as they dropped, they would get lifted because of counter punching. Like, so they would get 1 pop, but there was enough other things that had mobility. Wherever they drop, you're going to move over to them and shoot them off. Like,
that's true. It was insane mobility with those 2 armies. Yeah.
And you don't even have to shoot them. You would just like literally run at them and kill them because you're so fast, right?
Yeah.
Like you could clear both those armies could clear the whole board.
There's no unleash out.
Right.
And so, and then, but we said when we were covering those shows, I said, look, by the way, I did, if you remember, yes, I did cope with my Slaanesh, but I was the one who said, I'm going to put my Slaanesh away. I put him back on the shelf.
You did.
You did. Yeah.
Yep.
I did not until they get nerfed. But anyways, absolutely, Mitch. It's good to talk to you, buddy. Great memories and great times. I agree. Have a good one, sir. It's good to see you. At any rate, absolutely. But we said when that was happening, I was like, if a super high armor force comes out that doesn't, just like flip to the damage, right?
Yeah,
that would stop it. I knew that, and I had said that on a show, and then my game 5 at NashCon that year was against Matt Sweeney, who was running, the super high armor Stormcast.
The Celestin on Star Drake.
I bounced off of him like just like I'm rubber, you're glue. It was just nothing. I couldn't dent him, right?
Yeah. The Celestin on Star Drake and 2x10 paladins, like protectors and some retributors or something. Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. So anyway, so I knew that after that game, I was like, I'm definitely right. If there was a force, like if there was like, if more people played like he did, and he was just using like Stormcast Classic, but just the super high armor, high resist, high ward, which is very tough to bring down that centerpiece, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, but then yes, you're right. Because that December, right before CanCon, if you remember, right? You had the KO book launch and you had the Tzeentch book launch. And that Tzeentch book
was a tale of 2 cities.
Boy,
the KO book was so terrible.
It was so bent.
So like the KO book was so terrible, and the Tzeentch book was so bent. If you'll remember that, because that was the death by 1,000 cuts book. Gary Percival did the video with me, me and you, and it was like it was such a bad book because it was clear that they wanted to, they were afraid of what KO could do. And so everything was like hyper conditional. Like, you can do this if this and this, and the moon is one of Eberron's moons. Like, just this crazy set of sequential, like, just nonsense where Zinch was nothing like that.
Right. Sure. No, Zinch was just raw firepower. Because again, I watched games at that CanCon. Like, I was over there in Australia for that in January of 2020, right? For that. It was like one of the last trips I took for many years. And I was over there and I watched like somebody with basically, you know, what would have been a few months previous, like an absolute horrifying Slanesh list, just peeled like an apple, man. I mean, they didn't even cross the DMZ. They were just dead. Right? Like, they died where they stood.
The Flamers era.
Sure.
When,
yeah.
Like
just gunned them down
or something. Yeah.
Right. Yes, the era of the sin and the bin. Yes, this is the area where this is the era where the sin and bin writing come into play, right? Because you kept getting these 2 book releases where like one would be really good and no, I shouldn't say it that way. One would be broken rules wise, and the other one would be super constrained and no fun.
This was the dual army box era.
Yeah.
And so for example, like, this is when you got FEC and Skaven. You got Loon Curse, which was Sylvaneth and Squigs. You got the KO Aether War and Zinch, the Fire Slayer, the Fire Slayer and Ideneth box.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, and every time it would be like, one book is totally broken, one book is just bad.
Yeah.
Great. That was this era, right? And then you're right. Then COVID took the last like year and change out of this edition, just dead. And yes, that led to like the power projection era. I think the only reason this era is the end of this era isn't looked at more unfavorably, because it would have been such a dark time in actual tournament play, was because there's basically like no tournaments happening and everything was just 100%. On TTS.
Yeah. I think, guys, for me, it's still the worst meta in the game's history. Was that period.
I enjoyed that season more than anything else.
The power projection portion of it.
I'm talking about the
TTS.
The TTS. I don't know about
that's
TTS.
all we were doing.
I'm saying like that second edition, it felt the game. Like, I enjoyed the game more. Like the playing of the game, right? Even though armies sometimes were way out of whack, playing the game was more enjoyable than almost any time since then.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting fundamentals and choices that were going on. Because this is the era where we have like all the realm artifact stuff and, you know, just a lot of other interesting ancillary choices you were making when you were making an army, right? Like you had a lot to draw on still, to like, it was a little more constrained. It was there, like some guardrails have been put up to Haywo's point from earlier, but it wasn't like, you know, it wasn't crazy constrained. You still had a lot of good choices. But like, I think I would say you could imagine a world where the Slanesh and FEC books weren't so bent, where they were a little more, you know, balanced. I think that period, that like 2019 period, would have been absolutely seen as like just a golden era, because it was mostly melee focused. Lots of different armies would have then been viable. Lots of just good Warhammer being played, right? I think those two just being such melee dominant armies were sort of twisted it a little. And I don't like the all shooting era that came up afterward. I really don't.
Yeah, it was the worst. Yeah. Somebody asked, when was the era of dominance? Marty might have a view on this. That is, Sentinels, when were they the most dominant? 2.0, 3.0 Sentinels just blend together in my mind. I'm not really sure there's a standout, but Marty might have an opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like from Lumineth's launch until they finally reined them in at the beginning of recently. Like, I don't know. That's Sentinels are always problematic, right? It's just a question of like, how many did you have?
Right.
So, ever since third, there's been a war on lots of fun choices. Johnny, indeed, even Timmy. Yeah, I agree, Haywo. That's absolutely true. Manzak says the good old days when COS could do 1 and 4. Yep, 100%. This is when you had a lot of really interesting army construction rules in the books as well, right? When people were when you could bring in other, it wasn't just like cities could have 1 and 4 of this other army in them, or like some Stormcast in. This is the era where I end up making the city's army that's, you know, all cool fantastical machines for Whirlwind's Edge or whatever, you know, that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
that's
brilliant.
All right, that led us directly, of course, to AOS 3.0, launched in 2021. So coming up out of the pandemic there, right? And yeah, you know, we had our Cruel Boys. Not the most successful launch ever for an army, I'll say. But hey, that's what happens. I mean, we just, you know, the 3.0 era didn't end that long ago. We're only, you know, 7-8 months out of it. What's your look back on 3.0 and the stuff that happened here? What's your thoughts on it in a whole?
I don't know, man. Like, I remember when 3.0 came out and you were like, hey, you're going to love this edition. And we played a couple games and then went to NashCon like the next day. And I just, like, I remember coming away from that weekend, like, I won the event that weekend, and yet coming away from that weekend going, I don't really, I don't like it. And my concern was, and do you remember what my concern was day one?
Battle tactics.
Yeah.
Yep.
I said, it disrupts the flow of the game, and I can't actually focus on playing the game because I'm doing these other things.
Sure.
That was probably verbatim what I said. If we went back to the show right after NashCon, that's what I said.
I believe it. I mean, I remember it very clearly. I remember all of the discussion around this.
And I stayed pretty resolute for the entire edition.
This was the year, the first one. Didn't you win 2 swords that year, right?
I did.
Yeah. That was the year you won 2 swords.
What were you playing?
KO.
What were you playing, Tom?
KO.
Nice.
Yeah, it was the duelist format, and so I had a Go Trek KO list and a Warp Lightning Vortex boss spell in the bottle KO list to alternate between.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so the good comment here. To me, 3rd edition was a fantastic edition done dirty by terrible GHB seasons. Ah, yes. 3.0 is also when we get the seasons of the whatever, all of which are going to fail spectacularly and be the inverse thing of whatever they say. So, like, if it's the season of big monsters, don't use big monsters, they're done. If it's, you know, the season of whatever it was, whatever that thing is always the wrong choice because the counterplay to it was always stronger. Like, They went, 4 for 4 or 5 for 5, however many dumb GHBs we had because we had 6-month GHBs mixed in there or whatever, right? Oh. We managed to go basically every one of them being at best average. Most of them were outright failures, like the entire season concept. It's shocking how off the mark we were for that whole time.
Yeah. Like, I think that 3rd could have been a wonderful addition if we didn't have battle tactics. But we had better seasons. I think it would have been a near perfect addition.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of big changes in 3rd, right? Like, we moved to everybody can issue commands and
heroic actions and issuing commands and monstrous actions.
You don't pay for battalions anymore and yada yada yada.
Yep.
Wasn't that the first time we got weapon ranges in 3rd? I don't know if we had weapon ranges before then.
What do you mean? Oh, for like melee weapons?
Oh wait, no, we had that weapon. Never mind. Yeah. No, we've had that the whole time.
Yeah, they were always there. Yep, always had ranges.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember some of the various aspects of 3rd edition. Yeah, I remember those GHBs, like you said, being often misses or countered what they intended to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the most successful one was the little foot hero thing, which is like sort of was the most boring, but also the least offensive. At least it actually kind of did what it said on the tin. So you know, that was nice. So
anyway, I really enjoyed this edition. Like we, as you guys said, we had a lot of conversation. Was it basically, Tom, you were there from the beginning, and then Vince, you weren't quite there from the beginning, but you were leaning that way with battle tactics. You were where were you at the start with battle tactics?
Yeah, I don't know. I was fine with them. Like I like the concept of secondary objectives just fine. And CW, no, I mean not everybody hates battle tactics. It's also not just the three of us, right? Like I just informal surveying on this that I've done, I know that I'm not sure they'd be above water on their favorability. Let me say it that way. I think but even if they were, they'd be a pretty Marmite thing. The problem with them is they are one of those things that, like, you know, they're one of those things that people either, you know, really value or really dislike. I came to hate them. I came to hate third, is what it came down to. Like the last year of third was one of the darkest times for me in AOS.
Well, part of the challenge was that they were balancing books based on factions, based on battle tactics. That's when everybody turned against GW. Truly, like I had hated them from the beginning, and I ran about them very regularly. But it really shifted about halfway through when they realized one of the levers that they could turn was in battle tactics. Like to make a faction better, they would give them a free battle tactic or whatever to like bump up and like close the gap on percentages. And when they began balancing by battle tactics, that's when everybody turned on them. Like that's really when it went into overdrive, and folks were like, "Nope, I hate battle tactics now," because it became such an artificial lever for actual like game balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it was always just the execution thing. Like conceptually, I like the idea. I just never liked the execution. Still don't to this day.
Yeah, agreed. I think that the best ones that we've seen so far are either like
in Spearhead.
They were what
in Spearhead.
Well, I mean, I think Spearhead is a wonderful implementation. I like Spearheads. I liked because there's a randomness to that. I liked what we implemented at NashCon. Right, like what we wrote for them, the schemes, and even though they're just a little bit down the middle, like I like the way that Adepticon used to implement it, where you had 7 total that you needed to accomplish at the beginning of one match. You chose one of those 7, and you did that one for that match.
Sure.
Right. Like for the whole game, for the whole 5 turns.
Yeah,
like
yeah. You're trying to do this thing. Yeah.
One thing. Right.
Yep. Cygnus Maximus says, as a casual occasional player, it was just too much tracking, too much to know. It made unfun for me, so we just dropped them. Yeah, sure. Yeah, total makes sense. So yeah, I mean, go ahead, Tyler. I think you were going to get to a point, but where you were going, but like, yeah, I really do think I did have some fun through the beginning of 3.0, especially once we could start playing a little more, you know, in person and stuff there. But yeah, by the end, I don't know, man. I was pretty done with it. I'm not gonna lie.
Sure. No, that's fair. Yeah, I was just trying to remember. Yeah, welcome any other comments from folks on what they remember about 3rd edition. I'm having a bit of a hard time remembering. I do remember losing a number of players locally who just found the edition too complicated relative to 2nd edition. There's just too convoluted, too much going on. So yeah, that was happening. I mean, we did pick up with some other players, but yeah, I don't know to what degree that was going on. Yeah, notably around the world. But so I remember our discussions around battle tactics, and I was not necessarily. I mean, I was more of a defender relative to you guys of them, but certainly came closer to your opinion, Tom, in particular. Than where I started, right? And it really was the implementation and how it became increasingly clear how it was rough. But I think for me, 3rd edition, like, you know, I've been decent at the game, but I tried to get better. Like I was deliberately trying to get better at the game and got better. And that was interesting. An experience, right? I wasn't going to too many tournaments, but yeah, that was cool. Like Nurgle, I was playing Nurgle a lot in 2022. And yeah, I don't know. I just like all of this is filtered through our own personal experience, right? Our personal lens. And that was my experience of it. Like I really enjoyed diving more deeply into the nitty-grittiness of 3rd edition. And yeah, anyway. But yeah, there were a number of issues with it, certainly.
Yeah. You know, like I feel like we've sort of, I don't know. We'll talk about it here. Let's just get over to here. Boom. AOS 4.0, the current world we're in, right? Obviously launched last year, where we currently find ourselves. where do you sit right now? You know, as we're sitting here on this auspicious 10th anniversary. By the way, thank you to everybody who's watching. Thank you all out there who hit like and subscribe. Everybody who's been super chatting and all that stuff. It's great. You're all deeply appreciated. Everybody's been chatting, giving us dropping some great comments and great chats. Really appreciate it, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. Whether this is your first show or your 520th, it's very much appreciated. So yeah, where do you currently sit with 4.0, Tyler? Like, where's your head at right now?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying 4.0. So this is the best, certainly by far the best implementation of battle tactics that they've done, which I understand, right, is a relatively low bar, right, where we've been. I still find a good amount of nuance. There's a few proud nails that stand out with 4.0, which Vince, you were pretty early on with some of them. I remember I called you one day early on when you had been playing a lot, right? Because you got early access, and you were talking. You were saying things like, "It's really hard to not lose on a double round 1 into round 2," and I thought you were out of your mind because that's never.
I said that very early on, and people were like, "You're an idiot. You don't know how to play Warhammer if you lose on a double from 1 into 2. You stupid face." Yeah. Yeah.
And then you play the game and you're like, okay, you actually look at this. It's about a number of the ingredients coming together, right? And the latest, greatest, that is terrible example of this is the latest Slaves of Darkness net list that we see everywhere. And that was all over I saw the same damn Slaves of Darkness list basically repeated maybe 10 times at LVO. Sure. And it's often a 1-drop, and it's like 10 Chosen, 6 Vanguard, Be'lakor, Chaos Orc-Lord, or Chaos Lord, and 5 Knights, something like that. And it fits in a 1-drop. And it wasn't a lot of 5.0s, but it's one of those, like, in the micro, it's horrific. In the macro, it might be fine, right? Because you're not necessarily going to get a lot of 5.0s with that. You know, it might stumble in that regard.
No, I mean, there's plenty of those that threaten 4-1 certainly regularly in the hands of a great player. Yeah, great. You know, you could get there again, depending on the exact construction, the matchups, the run you have, and all that. But yeah, sure.
Yeah. So overall, I'm pretty happy with, I mean, like, it's this weird situation where I'm curious on this, if you guys have done this. The rules have never been cleaner, in my opinion, at a high level, sort of some way streamlined, just clear and detailed. And at the same time, I feel like, and this could be recency bias, that I don't remember having so many instances of, oh, how does that work? How does that work? And obviously manifestations is the big one. That's the huge miss. That's still, I played a game the other night, and it's still happening, where people have gotten, however, so many games of 4.0. But yeah, have you guys found that much with 4.0, where you're actually running into like issues in terms of how things work? And I don't know, I've been finding that a little bit more than I would expect.
Tom?
Or has it been pretty clean for you?
It's the worst edition of Warhammer we've had.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, that's my answer to your direct question, Tyler.
Yeah.
I knew that's what you were gearing up for, Tom. I could just tell. I could see by the look on your face. But at any rate, not really, I don't think is my answer to your question, but also yes. It ends up coming up in weird places is what I'll say. So it's not that there's more by count, Tyler, but it will come up because it just like produces weird interactions right now that I'm like, wait, what does happen there? And then we have to go double check it, right? That's more what happens. So it's not like that's frequent or like happening to some egregious degree. It's just it's noticeable, and I am shocked I have to do it as often as I do. There you go. Okay.
Totally. Yeah.
4th edition gutted our local club.
Okay.
It
talk to us.
Truly killed. Like a bunch of folks just went over to War Machine. Like it killed our local scene. Like our local scene is truly struggling, and it was up to like 20 people regularly on RTTs, and it's at a trickle now, because the problem is that there's a number of problems. One is there's a number of core systems that are the incentive structures are poison. Like for example, the drop structure and how the like heroes and bonus heroes and all of that gating and all of that stuff, like I still don't think it's been solved. Like, yes, there's some other incentive structures now, but at the end of the day, I don't think that it's meaningfully changed. There are some systems or subsystems. So on one hand, you have a bunch of like mechanically problematic like army construction elements. Armies have never been more boring to build than they are right now.
This is going to be my major pushback. My big issues right now with 4.0. Just, I'm going to loop on this because I know you're about to go on a rant. I want to support you. But I want to, because Haywo mentioned this too. My two main problems are the things you both have mentioned. One, I think Manifestations was a miss from the very beginning. I think it was a problem when they initially shared the info on the edition, like, to me. Okay, I said this doesn't seem like a good idea. Are you even going to have enough of these endless spells for everybody to buy? I think history has proven my fear correct. 7 months in, okay? And number two, it's been a thoroughly awful experience for everybody to have to learn these things. Like, it's a cool idea to punch an endless spell, but them being endlessly recurrable nightmare blocker units, especially with the universals that are out there. Again, if it had just been like the constrained lores that are in the books, I don't think anybody would have a problem with them.
No, 100%.
Fire the universal ones off the into the sun, and I think the problem goes away. That's number one. And number two is, you're right. List building right now, it's, as Haywo said, it's great paced. You have so few choices in building lists. It's like a 10-minute exercise to build a list.
And guys, before Tom, I think part of why I'm so positive about 4th edition is maybe this is just copium, but I love the community, I love the game, I love going to tournaments, so I'll find a way to make it work. At the end of the day, right? I'll find a way to have fun. And
so we made it through AOS pre-rules. I'm playing this. Come on, this is better than that.
Well, but I don't consider that a real edition. Like, that was a beta test for the game. That wasn't an actual game edition.
I understand.
Sure. So obviously, just to throw out and to check the bingo box, Highlander for me has been one of the heuristics, one of the ways, right, by which I can find a way, because I am involved in a religion now.
You're playing Poison Mushroom. That's all you're doing.
So it helps to maintain my interest because I have 10 different. I'm always running, for the most part, toolbox armies, right? So I'm just trying to say, Tom, right? Like, you can find ways to increase. You don't have to write lists that are great goo, that are great paste. You can find ways, and that is one of the things. I mean, on the whole, like, I get there's the reinforced unit problem.
That's fine.
No, I
some
have a great
armies.
list with some armies, not all armies. Yeah, not all armies can do good Highlander lists, and that's absolutely true. And I understand the reinforced units thing, where it's just all we've talked about on the show. We have a MSU problem for the most part. Yeah, we have so much incentive for a reinforced unit. All right, I'm gonna shut up and let you go on this. But that's just one way I feel like so many people don't. I said I was gonna shut up. I'm still talking. Why am I still talking? I'm gonna shut up now.
That's your catchphrase.
No,
I'm still talking.
I'm still talking.
No, I'm more than okay. Like, because I could go on a rant, right? For me, like, the problem is so multifaceted. Like, it's not singular. The fact that sure, let's talk about this. The points went up, which is fine. Inherently, I'm okay with that. Like, the drift up of points, and also then the squeeze down of both. By points going up, the number of units and models that you had went down, right?
Sure.
And so games are actually playing closer to old 1,000-point games than current 2,000-point games. Now, I understand that it's not, but just from the number of units that you have on the table, right? 5 units or something like that, like a hero or 2 heroes maybe, and then a couple support units. Or a couple units like a hammer.
Yeah, average between 5 and 9 units on the table. Yes.
Yeah.
And so what's actually ended up happening now is things that you previously needed, like where we had screens, like, we don't have enough points to buy screens anymore. So now, and the abilities that are in play negate screens to such a degree, with double pylon and stuff like that. And everybody's 3-inch reach, right? So double pylon and 3-inch reach suddenly means that, like, that really means that they're getting into other stuff always.
Right.
Yeah, I 100% Tom on this, dude. I think the footprint of this game, it does feel structurally flawed, and it starts with the 6-inch universal reach.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Yeah.
And so then what ends up happening is We don't have enough points to have screens, meaningful, like meaningful ways to stop units. And then you couple that with the fact that now we have to have prospectors in order to do our battle tactics because of the way battle tactics have been written. So any of those points that we would have invested in screens have to go to prospectors first. The problem is that some armies aren't engineered to have these types of units. And so you end up with situations like Ironjaws that have to use pigs or something like that, which are terrible units just in general, and they cost too much money to be prospectors. I could also go into the fact that all the armies, every single one of them, their battle tactics are mediocre, or not battle tactics, sorry, the faction abilities and the choices and the choice points largely are mediocre in basically almost every army, where there's a single go-to option that is the right answer 95% of the time, whether it's a certain subfaction, whether it's a certain item, and then there's the base ability, right? And so the actual meat of an army, there's very few decision points in assembling those things. And if all of that isn't bad enough, one of the challenges we end up running to is on top of all of those things.
Yeah.
Is that I lost my train of thought. I was ranting about choice points and the reduction.
All the choice points aren't actually choice points, because you're right. Heroic traits, artifacts. Obviously, you're not choosing your lore. That's just going to be baked in. You know, your spell lore and your prayer lore, you only have one, so there's no choice there. Generally, your magic item, heroic trait either don't matter or there's one obvious one. Your sub-faction usually doesn't matter because there's usually only one that actually even applies or has any kind of rules that are worth anything. So just like, not a choice, not a choice, not a choice, not a choice. Maybe you pick either, your choice point is, did I take Morbid or Primal or Kronspine? Right? Like, there you go. That's a potentially meaningful choice point you had, and that was the only one you made beyond what actually composes the list.
And spells are lackluster. So there's not really a decision happening with spells anymore because you have a single spell lore, you're locked into it, and oftentimes they're just not good. You just don't have good options. The way that they've designed prayers, especially with some armies, like being like the priests being forced to go into the prayer lore, and not actually having native prayer war scrolls, all of the war scrolls being simplified. So they're largely just like, what's most important is the numbers on those scrolls. Most of the time, not the abilities. The abilities are a waste of time. Like, just because there's so little. And then on top of that, if all of this wasn't bad enough, I don't have access to any of the rules because I haven't bought every single book. And so I can't learn other armies.
Yeah, that's a real problem. I've noticed.
It is truly like,
yeah.
I'm like, pass.
Yeah.
Pass.
I don't think I'm in the same place. Like, overall, I've played probably, I don't know, approaching 70 games of fourth, something around that number, maybe a little more. I'm pretty sure at least 70. And like my main issue has been a lot of my armies that I initially wanted to play were way down at the bottom and bad and got kind of bad indices. So that's rough, right? But I have been having fun with, like, Skaven is the one army I will say in 4.0 that I keep coming back to because it violates a lot of the core tenets you're talking about, Tom. What I mean by that is, like, there actually are multiple, like, sub-factions I choose from. There are multiple different items that are viable depending on what exactly I'm doing, right? Like, I actually do make a lot of meaningful choices in my Skaven list because of the utility nature of a lot of their heroes and power pairs. Your list building is actually an interesting thing, right? Like, what additional units you choose to include in can be meaningful. Do you fit in a little plague pack? That's a interesting little 140 point non-hero that suddenly, expands a lot of your choice points and so on and so forth, right? So, like, it's such a versatile, interesting Johnny-esque army in what it allows you to do. It still has fundamentally interesting list building and choice points and all of that. But I compare that to something like, playing with my Ironjaws over the same time period. It's just like, it's night and day, right? We're talking about two very different experiences here. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, like if I'm at a table and I'm trying to, like, somebody does something and I want to just check a rule because I think they may have misread it, I don't have that ability now. I have
Sure.
to say, hey, can I have your book?
Yeah, we can all agree that the locked rules thing is just like the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the worst decisions they've made in the 10 years.
Yeah.
Or nearly 10 years. Yeah. Like, it's insane that they made that decision to me. Yeah.
Agreed.
Like, it breaks to me, it kind of like breaks the baseline social contract in some ways. Just as you just said, Tom, like, I've played at multiple GTs now, and people are getting, I mean, rules are rules. People play rules wrong. It happens a lot, even really experienced players. Like, it just happens. And to not have the ability to even, like, quietly check while your opponent's doing their thing, like, that's crazy. You know, it's
Like-
also it kind of interrupt. Like, I don't, Tom, if you, I don't want to have to call you out. Like, I just want to be able to check on my own. You know, I'll quietly check, and if you got it wrong, I'll mention it to you. You know, as opposed to like having to call you out and stop the game and all that crap. Yeah.
Right. Could you be like, hold on, can you read? Is that how that works? Can you please read the text out loud
Yeah, get
to
your
me?
book out. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean,
That's what you got to do.
Tyler, it's so funny to me. Like, even today, let me just put a pin on this. Even today, we were talking, and I talked about warp fire thrower teams.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said, they're 2+, they're 2+, 3+, -2, 1 damage, 2d6 stacks. So they're great. And even when you're shooting off turn, they're 3, -2, 1. And I went, wait a minute, no, is that only my turn? And I went and checked, and I like corrected it in our chat. Okay.
Right.
Because that's only on turn.
Yeah.
That's an army I'm playing.
Sure, totally.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
no one else would have the ability to check me at the table if I just told them that this is how it worked. And if they didn't play Skaven, they wouldn't know that.
Right. Yep. G-Well, thank you very much for the super chat. Thank the gods of order that people post the army rules and war scrolls online. Yeah, paywalling even the war scrolls was a dumb idea. Still like fourth. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I think there's a lot of good foundational things going on here. I don't mind the fact that they simplified a lot of the things down. As far as that goes, I think that's perfectly okay, because what that should have allowed them to do is build the more interesting superstructure on top. That's why, like, the indices being simple, the war scrolls being streamlined and all that, that's not a problem to my mind, okay? I'm actually fine with that. If when the battle tomes came out, you then had a lot of interesting choices to make on top of it. Does that make sense? If we had...
But we don't.
But we don't. I agreed. And that's where I'm saying the failing is, right? I think people oftentimes point at the simplification and say that's the problem. That's not the problem. That makes the game easier to get into. The problem is when you then build a simple foundation and then go, done. No, you got to build the house on top of it.
Yeah. We did that back at the beginning of first edition. We call it the beta rules. That's where it feels like we're back at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go that far, but like I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Could you crystallize, Tom, like what your main 3 critiques are of 4.0?
Bad incentive structures. Okay, so core functionality of bad incentive structures. We're talking about things like drops, bonus heroes. We're talking about incentive structures around the core balance of things like the manifestation lures. So all of those core balance structures, I think, are bad. Okay. I think that there was a misreading of the situation around point increases and unit reductions that it created a core functionality problem for the number of units that are on the table, right? And the efficacy of those units, both normal and reinforced, and how that scales. Like, the math is just simply wrong there. Okay. So bad incentive structures, core functionality issues, and then does that capture everything? What am I missing?
Do you want to add the manifestation thing?
Well, the manifestation thing rolls into the bad incentive structures because, like, the way they've been balanced, it pushes people into those things. And I mean, I hate battle tactics.
And you still find, I was going to say, you still find the scoring
and battle tactics must be destroyed. Yes, this is Carthage.
Yes, it's just all of that forces us into a game where decisions, like, if you want to be competitive at the highest levels, decisions are almost predetermined.
G-Well with the super chat saying, call this copium, but I think the foundations going forward will get better. I feel they simplified the game to get ahead of float, but going forward, it's only going to get more complicated. I don't think you're wrong, G-Well. Like, I don't think he's wrong at all there. I think what's going to happen is they'll respond to, like, they're going to hear this feedback loud and clear of people being angry about the battle tomes, and they'll, like, in AOS 5th edition, they'll be like, we heard your feedback, and these new battle tomes we're launching for 5th, they're going to be chock-a-block, full of, like, choices and new stuff to do and lay on top. And it's like, that's great. I think we will get there. They are quite responsive, right? The issue is it's going to take another 2.5 or whatever it is. Yeah, 2.5 years, whatever, until that time comes and we realize where we've gone wrong. And chances are they'll start toe creeping into it with battle tomes towards the latter half of the edition that are going to suddenly be real robusto by comparison, right? Kathy, by the way, said, and Tyler, what's it feel like being a co-host for 10 years? Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm glad my wife asked that of you.
Kathy, hope you get feeling better soon. It's easy when you only show up, every 60 days or so, as I have been of late. So
yeah, like I agree with the Harrower who said they should have waited a year to release the first battle tome. That's right.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
I agree.
We should have just gotten the indices, and then they should have just played balance with the indices, because it's all digital. They could just update those files whenever. They should have released other books like Ravaged Coast, narrative books, set up the edition, do some fun stuff for a year, right? Do a couple gift box sets or whatever around Christmas. There's plenty of places to make money, like the Gitmob box and stuff like that, right? Whatever, do something like that, and then bring out your battle tomes and make them real evolutions, right?
Well, okay, I want to jump in real quick. Dunk Nuggets, sorry, said, I believe in Matt Rose. Here's what I want to say, folks. I believe in Matt Rose too.
Yeah.
Like, in general, I think he is a very insightful designer. And I think that he's had a lot of wonderful insight into the game and contributions. Here's where I think he's failed. Is that because he came in 3rd edition, he doesn't understand why the decisions were made previously about, as things were refined and balanced, going from 1st to 2nd into 3rd, right? As that knife was sharpened every single time, there were design decisions that were made because of the way that things were relating in the subsystem. The problem is that the design going into 4th tried to remake a system not understanding some of those fundamental relationships, and the incentive structures that they've created have created a poisonous system.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I think we'll get there, but it's going to be a rough year or so, a rough year or two at least, where we get books like the Iron Jaws book.
And I'll say this, I actually think if you had, let me just a note on battle tactics. I think it is interesting how much battle tactics have warped the perspective of army building because of the nature of, like, the battle tactics that are actually achievable at the top of one and what you have to have prospectors and stuff like that. Yes. If the next GHB came out and you really changed around the battle tactics, list construction will just turn on a dime, right? If suddenly you didn't have to have rando units hanging around the edge of the board or trying to go walk and hit their territory in some backwards way or stuff like that, if things were trying to get you to engage more with the enemy in some direct way, right? It would totally change the way lists are built. And that seems crazy to me. It shouldn't swing that hard on a needle.
Because 2 of the 3, or arguably all 3, take the land, take the flanks, seize the center, amplify the challenges with getting doubled, with the potential of getting doubled.
Absolutely.
It's one of those, right? Because as Tom made the point, we have made the point, your potential screens will often be prospectors, so you're taking that away. If you're going to seize the center, you're getting closer to the opponent. That could be a problem, getting doubled. So it feeds into that recipe that we have right now.
It's why the double is the worst that it's ever been in the history of the game right now.
It's pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, I was watching some of those LVO games, and these are some of the most experienced players you can imagine, and I'm watching them just make basic ass mistakes. But at the same time, I can understand why that, like, I've had to work so hard to try to avoid losing a game this weekend at Midwest Bash on a round 1 and round 2 double. And that's having Murderlust, because I've gone to the dark side and I've embraced what I hate.
Sure.
And I'm really excited for it. But anyway,
Gareth will be very proud of you.
It's mind-blowing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Chris, there's a lot of
against a lot of very aggressive armies. It's so okay. I'll tell a story here. I was helping Brendan with some tournament prep, and so he's like, "Can you make?" He's like, "I want to get several games in, so he came over. This is a couple weeks back. Okay.
Yeah.
And so he came over fairly early, and we got 3 games, and we basically did our like Saturday RTT. Okay.
Mm.
And so the first list I ran against him was the all hammer slaves list. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had 6 Therodons, or reinforced Therodons, reinforced Chosen, reinforced Varangard. Okay. Like the full package.
Be'lakor. Yeah.
No, it wasn't Be'lakor because he can't fit in there. It was not with full sets of all 3 of those. It was like the great, or not the, what's his name? The stupid
Gaunt Summoner.
Gaunt, yeah, thank you. The Gaunt Summoner to put the Therodons in the tower, and then like I don't
And
remember
throw
who the
stuff forward. Yeah.
I don't remember who the other boss was. Whatever could take the right things doesn't freaking matter. The point is that like we set up for game 1, and I set up stupid, and he was able to snipe out. He was able to like teleport. He took the top 1, teleport, killed my Gaunt Summoner, and I was like, all right, you win.
Mm.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
because you just trapped the 6 Therodons off board, and like now my army's like, you know, he had me dead to rights because I set up stupidly, and I was like, cool, re-rack. I learned an important lesson. Don't set up like a moron, right? But it's the first time I had played that particular force, so I reset up. There was no avenues. We went. He's like, okay, well, you know, I'll give you the or this time I won the roll off. Sorry, so I forced him to take 1. He had nowhere to go, so he kind of came forward, right, a little bit, as much as he could. And then I went into him and smashed just like as hard as I could. And it was, even with him playing like to the top of his game, right?
Yeah.
I got the double into 2, and it was like, okay, well, that's it. Like he did his best to like set everything up, to countercharge, to stop my units from getting in, to like block, and like every move he made was the right move. You know what I'm saying? Like every pile-in choice was correct to close off my avenue of what the double pile-ins that all the ones I had were going to matter. Right? Everything was as advantageous as possible. I won the double into 2 and rocked him right off the table.
Yep.
That was it.
And so Dunk Nugget said, so people don't like the new double turn rules update. The problem is that it doesn't matter if you don't score battle tactics for the rest of the game. They don't have an army.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was like, yeah, cool. You're going to be the underdog for the rest of this game, which is going to be in about another 10 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so everybody's blaming the double turn, which is funny to me because the double turn's always been there, and it's never been this bad. And again, these are core functionality problems of the double, like how the double now interfaces with the incentive structure of army building and reinforced hammers and all of the and reach and 3-inch reach for every unit in every model now, and all in double pile in and all of these mechanics. Like it is a perfect storm of just poop. And there's just not an easy way around it.
Yeah. It's, and like I said, TLDR. Yeah, Vince, you were spot on with that early on. It took me a little bit to appreciate the recipe that we were getting with all of these ingredients. But yeah, we're here. So somebody brought up Armies of Renown. Was it G-Well? What do you guys think about? I like I'm using a regiment of Renown with the Demon Prince. I love how they've finally got the Demon Prince where you can run a Khorne army or Tzeentch army led by a Demon Prince, and you can benefit from that. That's faction rules. That's really cool. But I really personally tend to dig the Armies of Renown and Regiments of Renown system as an alternative to the Allies. It's kind of yeah.
What book or expansion did that come from? Did that come from the Christmas ones, or did that come the Demon Prince, or did that come in from the Slaves of Darkness?
It's in the S2D.
Yeah, it's awesome. Anyway, do you guys like the replacement ally system?
Honest answer is I love them. I like the armies. I don't really care as much about Regiments of Renown. I don't tend to like want to use other. I don't tend to like get into Army X to play Army Y. You know what I mean? Like I want to I like my army to just be Army X. So I've never liked allies and stuff like that. But like Armies of Renown conceptually, I like the idea. I've liked the idea since I think the first time I encountered something like it. I mean, there's a couple different versions of this about going back into early Warhammer, but I think of it as like in the back of the 6th edition books in Warhammer Fantasy, where you could play like the artillery train of Nuln and stuff like that, right? It completely changed your list building and what you could take and how many of the thing and all of that. And you know,
Slayer army.
Yeah, it was great. I liked all that stuff. I like that stuff. Like the Stormcast all hero hammer, like just, Thunder of the Gods coming down. Like I like when they actually make them cool. The problem is some of them are just dumb. I mean, that's like you're going to do so few of these. If you're only going to have like 2 in the back of every book, could we at least try to make them bangers? Right. So like at least they're interesting. And by the way, I don't mean interesting like powerful. I don't care if they're not like competitive 5-0 tournament winning things, right?
Yeah.
I mean interesting like one of the Skaven ones is all of your monsters commit suicide and explode themselves. Like that's not what? No, it's not what. What are we doing here? Okay.
Yeah.
Like there's so many interesting sort of things you could be doing with the Armies of Renowned Space. I'd honestly like to see that if that's going to be the sort of battle tome enrichment thing, then put 3 or 4 of them in there and actually make them interesting based around different narrative stuff that's in the stories. Set them on different realms. Have like, this is what the Army of Renown of this realm looks like, right? Like the cities of Shaiish, like, or something like that, right? What do they have that's different, that looks cool, that makes them feel like that thing? I just don't feel like they have the kernel of a good idea there. I just don't feel like they've expanded on it nearly enough to be as interesting as what it could be. Because Haywo said they should be in the sub-faction section. I have no idea why it isn't, but maybe I mean regiments are now. No, I mean, I get it. They're effectively like very, very super sub-factions, right? They're kind of sitting above that level.
Yeah.
And... my biggest issue with the Armies of Renown is like stupid things like, oh, well, you can take the manifestation lore, but you don't. This is your one manifestation spell, but you don't have to take it. You can just swap it out
to the core and get all 3.
What? Like, why? Like, that's just dumb. Either make that be that thing you'd have to take, or give me a full selection. Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Because like, what I'm saying? Like, they don't feel as thought through as they could be.
Right. It goes back to incentive structures in that it forces you into that thing. Or, for example, here's another great one. Let's talk about the Great Wa, or the Big Wa, right? The War Chanter, they have an okay short range prayer, 1 prayer as the lore. The War Chanter doesn't have his own lore, so the only way to get into that is to take a War Chanter, and it only works with that 1 prayer, and it's short range. Meaning that you're just like not going to be able to functionally use it. Like you're going to ramp it, like you're going to throw dice every turn, building up your wall to the 1 turn that you get to use it when you're in short range. And by the way, I haven't even talked about how useless foot heroes are in this edition.
Sure.
Right? Like there are some functional core issues that they just simply have not fixed. Monsters, non-hero monsters,
yeah.
foot heroes.
Yeah, I know. We're talking generalizations. Yeah, there's a fair amount of truth to that. Obviously, there's exceptions to anything, and yeah, that was a great show. I don't know, Tom, if you were on that show, going through the different war machines, monsters, etc. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, personally biased, anecdotal, but Corn loves little foot heroes. I've got a list of like 5 of them. They're awesome. I'm building my list around them, but it's an exception to the rule. Like I
also are most of those bonus heroes now supposed to change? Like you don't have 5 regiments.
I do.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because leaning into double honor guard,
the extra.
Yeah, going for the hard double honor guard,
and getting full information on deployment, basically.
Nice.
But anyway, yeah. I mean, sorry, I don't mean to pick, but like, yeah, I don't know.
No, exactly.
You triggered my generalization.
Like, there's always exceptions. It's the same. Like you can build a very compelling 5 hero Skaven list, right?
Yeah.
The same way, and like you definitely have things to apply both of your honor guard abilities to, right? And you feel like it's in fact, most of my 5 hero Skaven lists, 5 hero Skaven armies actually have 6 heroes in them, because I've got to have the 1 bonus hero tucked in to get the +2 inch move.
Nice.
So
I don't know. I wish I would have noticed that looking at LVO, Tom. To what degree is that true? Especially Field Sergeant now. It does feel like Field Sergeant has had an impact, a positive impact.
I think it's one of the most meaningful changes they've dropped in a long time. Field Sergeant's huge.
Yeah,
it's a huge difference in how playing like Skaven or Ironjaws or Nurgle feels. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think the general notion, like I'm aligned with the general notion that there's work to be done there in the small hero category, as there is with war machines, chariots, etc.
Yeah, I mean, part of that will loosen up if we can get rid of the hammer problem, where like reinforced giant hammers are the only way to go. So like,
sure,
that means you've got to go in and either bust some individual scrolls and really weaken them, or start making blanket rules like you can't reinforce cav. You know, like
that'd be really interesting. Yeah,
like there's some right, like it's
right.
There's some spectrum, and you got to do something in there, right? But it's something,
right? But and I mean, cav would maybe fix it by not reinforcing cav, maybe. But I don't know that solves the problem, to be honest. Like what it does is it just narrows down that potentially problematic. Like,
Yeah. So I'm guessing this is Jeff, the harrower. So two things I would love to get out. So Vince, maybe you can think on this, and I'll get this other thing out. Curious if you could make 3 changes to 4.0, what those would be, what your priorities would be. But then, so the harrower brought up how he thought that casually 4.0 is the best ever, which I don't feel that. I will say I finally played Spearhead. You guys have been raving about Spearhead from the beginning. Spearhead's fantastic.
Isn't it great?
Spearhead is really,
really
good. It's really
but that's
good.
why it's a great addition for casuals, because it gave us Spearhead, and Spearhead's like legitimately fun and easy to get into and easy to play and great. Yeah,
it's so good.
So I don't know why I don't know why I would play a full game of Warhammer instead of Spearhead with my kids.
Yeah,
I just don't. Like I have no reason to.
Yeah. So through the lens of Spearhead, I absolutely agree with that. I'm not sure about the full game, but yeah, Vince, you had a thought?
No, you asked what are the 3 big things I would change, right?
Yeah, let me finish this up, and we'll come back to that. So
go for it.
My Scrubbing of Wells is coming out. Forgive me.
You're good.
So he said, okay, so that's casual. On the competitive end, Jeff was saying that he thinks, he didn't say it's solved, but that it's less interesting than ever. Well, Jeff, let me know if I interpreted what you said wrong. And that's also not generally been my experience either. And I think, Tom, maybe do you feel that way generally, Tom?
I do.
It's
like,
a lot less
there are
interesting
right
than
answers, right? There are a series of right answers that you can decide when going into an event. Yes.
Okay, so I feel some of that. Yeah, Vince, maybe we can come back to that topic, because that's a huge topic in itself in terms of the structure.
I think
of the game.
Here's what I want to say. I think what would be changed about AOS, that just needs to be a future show. Like what are our top priorities for changes? That's a future show, because that's a whole discussion. I'll answer your question here quickly. I think it is. I think you're right on both counts. What I mean is, I think this is the best edition for casuals ever, because I do think, like, I've actually played a fair number of 1,000 and 1,500 point games in 4.0, and it's actually pretty darn fun. Like, especially as team games or whatever, doubles games, whatever you want to call it, right?
I'm looking forward to this weekend, right?
I was too.
Best way to play.
It really is. And the game feels so different and fun at that point, at that level, just because you can't fit in all your toys, you can't, reinforce everything in the same way. Like, the points just don't work out the same when you're at that level. Like, it's just the constraints just end up changing a lot of things. Anyways, that's number 1. Number 2, Spearhead is just like really, really good for casuals, as we said. Number 3, on the competitive side, it's true for about, it's always a little bit changing because of battle scrolls and new books that comes out, new battle tomes and such. But realistically, right now, for what? If I said for 4 out of 5 books, okay, they are solved, right? And by solved, I mean, what the correct answer is for 16 to 1,800 points of that list, okay? I don't think I would be wrong to say that. I'm not saying there's only one answer. Maybe there's 2. Maybe you've got 1,600 points A or 1,700 points B. Maybe it's those 2 constructions. Maybe if they're an incredibly versatile army, there's 3 builds. Who knows, right? But I think 4 out of 5 books, so 80% of the indices and books that are out there, do simply have
the right answer.
The right answer for the bulk of the army that matters. That's what I think he's pointing to, and I agree with that.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think it's uninteresting.
I don't think that's true for some. There is armies that break that, but 4 out of 5.
Yeah, guys, and I'm just thinking of all these times when we've discussed this over the years, and I understand that I'm coming at this from someone who's literally played over probably 1,000 games. You guys could very well be right. We've been playing this forever. And then coming up with a certain bias is that, okay, I can probably kind of, it would be interesting to go through it. I can kind of agree with that through the lens of perception, like what is perceived to be the builds. But to me, I would think, certainly when it comes to 4 out of 5 armies, if that's the claim, you would have a lot of those armies where there's a big gap between perception and potential reality, let's say. People could be running lists that could be performing very well that they just haven't realized due to perception, what's perceived as quote unquote net list or whatever. But just sure. I find that still to be very true in 4th edition with a lot of these factions. I felt that with Stormcast, Soulblight, Khorne, Fireslayers, Daughters of Cain. There's there's quite a bit you can do with Daughters of Cain. So I don't know. That would be interesting to go through.
And all of it's bad.
Daughters of Cain.
Yeah. The joke would be, they have many choices. None of them are good. Here's
they're certainly struggling. Yeah.
Struggling. That's the funny part about it, Tyler. Yeah. Is that like the armies I would single out that have those multiple builds that are interesting are actually the most middling armies. Okay. Because all the ones above them are solved, and this is the things you play because they're bent and good. And the armies below them, these are the only things worth playing because everything else is garbage, and so this is the only stuff that can pass the post, right? You get this middle chunk of like 5-6 armies wherein they're so middling, there's no standouts, but there's also no like horrible choices. They're generally like tough to play. These are often high skill floor armies. So this is like IDK would fall in here. Doc would fall in here, right? Where they're probably on the like middle to low end of middle. And you've got to really like, they are skill testers, right?
So yeah, I don't agree with the yes, we're talking about, you said the word garbage, but then I 100% obviously agree with you on the skill floor, the skill test. I think that's generally right. Fireslayers, Doc, I would throw Khorne in there. I think Khorne are very challenging for a lot of reasons, and it's reflected in their win rates, and the army would completely fall apart. It would be the worst army in the game without Murderlust. It just would. It would completely fall apart, for better or worse. And sure. Yeah, you're right. There are a number of these. I think Soulblight are kind of like that in many ways right now. IDK, absolutely. So I agree with that skill floor point, and that is obviously part of the problem, or the challenge with it. And obviously, as a Johnny, that's what I find really interesting, and often sure. What Tom usually finds it really interesting. But yeah. But sure,
Let me remind you all that this segment has become disproportionately about the balance issues of 4th edition, and that's really not the purpose of this show.
It's not, sure. Although it is a good summation of what this show has been about for 10 years. All right.
Yeah.
Let's, which is just to talk about problems and drill them into the ground, especially when all 3 of us get together. Okay.
Indeed.
So, look, G-Well with the super chat saying, would armies of renown help with list variety if they had no restrictions and let you add units to your army, like allowing orcs and ogres in an army? I want there to be restrictions, G-Well, and I think they could help. I think armies of renown should be going crazier. I think they should be opening up more doors, right? I think allow other armies in, just like they did with Bellacor's thing, where it's like, yeah, throw some demons in here, go nuts, right? Like, I think they should explore that kind of stuff more. I think they could still have restrictions. Like, let there be restrictions. Restrictions breed creativity, right? It's more interesting when you have to build with some kind of restrictions. I just think they could do more with them, right? Like, they've clearly limited them to they're allowed to take up this much space in the book. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is your army of renown. Yeah. Because they want you to be able to play off of those 2 pages and reference nothing else. And like, noble in pursuit, flawed in execution. So there we go. Yeah. All right. So is there a future slide? No, there's not a future slide. So here's where I want to end out here. We got a few minutes left. So gentlemen, it's been 10 years of us getting together, collectively celebrating and or decrying the state of Warhammer. By the way, the number of times that I'm sure Tom has said this is the worst ever or this is the best ever, it's just you're right in line. Nothing has been less ahistorical than that.
It's my catchphrase.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the worst ever. So yeah, Tyler will still get you. It's only been 6 years now. You can get it. You can get a catchphrase. I just want to end out here with, first of all, audience, if you've got any questions. you want to ask us about anything over the last 10 years, go nuts. Drop it in the chat now. If you're still hanging out, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody who's hit like and subscribed and all that stuff and super chatted and done all those awesome things. But while they're prepping up any questions they want to ask, I'm gonna ask you both a question. Okay. So here's my question for you. What has been your single favorite moment from AOS in the past 10 years, and your single least favorite moment in the past 10 years? Right?
Got
that is the
least
question.
favorite.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you're saying, by the way, it doesn't have to necessarily be on the show. Just while the show was going on, right? What's been the thing?
Okay.
So,
well, I'll start with the least favorite because that's in my head. Shout out and lots of love to my man Jose. If he's listening, he knows exactly what I'm about to say. The worst game of AOS that I've had, and what's got to be, I probably averaged 100 games every year since 2016, was Flying Monkey a couple years ago, the height of the Seraphon BS, where I think I told you guys this, before I'd moved a single model, that man did 40 mortal wounds. I started counting. He did 40 mortal wounds to me, and it did a total of 60 damage to like 110 wound army, Slaves of Darkness army. And the game was over. The game was over before I'd moved on. And I didn't do anything stupid. Like, I just deployed in a normal way.
Sure.
Anyway, that was something else. Yeah.
Nice. Tom, what about you?
Thank you, Jose.
My worst moment was a game that I played at Adepticon. I'm not gonna go into detail, but essentially, an individual was playing in such a way that was a little bit probably slower, and we got to like not very far in Star Strike, which obviously that's always a challenge. And it drops in my area, and like I try to start reasoning out, and it doesn't work. And so we have to call the judge over, and the judge basically gets in an argument. The judge sees both sides, looks at my table, and is like clearly seeing, and in a fit of frustration says to the individual, well, fine, if you don't concede, then I'm just going to make it a draw for both players. And the guy was like, yeah, sure. And like it was just a feel bad, and I don't blame the judge, but it was a rough, like, serious, like, yeah. So that was a rough go. My favorite moment was a different Adepticon where I was playing a Nurgle player, and he was fairly proud of himself, and he's like, "Oh, do you know the Nurgle's needle does or whatever?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a weapon. And you roll 7, like something happens." And he's like, yeah, it was like auto dies. And I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. Like, I don't care. And he had it on like the Pestilence Rat. And I was playing Doc game 1, move stuff out, move Marathi over. And like, he went into Marathi at the top, at the bottom of 1, damaged her and rolled the 7.
Nice.
So this is my favorite game, because I look at him and I'm like, wow, that's, congratulations. That's great. All right. Are you done? He was like, yeah. And then I proceeded to table him in turn 2. Like, so it was, he removed a quarter of my army because of a bad play, but because of where Doc was, it literally mattered 0.
Oh, they were so powerful. Yeah. At the time. Yeah.
All right. Here's my answer.
Right.
Best moment. Ready? It's easy. I've got it queued up right here.
Remind you after 10 years.
I've listed that trailer over and over again to repeat like 1,000 of those views are mine. Anyway, that's the best moment. Worst moment is when they released the 3.0 Slaanesh book. Okay. Because it gave us that awful.
It wasn't my game.
Nope. It was far worse. Your game was a blip. It was terrible, but it was just a blip. I had to live with that Slaanesh crap for years. Still suffering through it.
Gotta give you my favorite moment real quick.
Sure.
Joe Pagano putting me on blast in our Game 5 at NashCon 2022. To be berated by Joe Pagano everyone needs to go through that at least once in life. It was a wonderful experience. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Absolutely. All right, let's do some fun questions from the chat. We'll be quick here, but let's go through them. Okay. Most memorable moment on the show from the last 10 years. Let's see. The most memorable moment. God, we've had a lot of like really fun things. Wow, I don't know. A single moment is really hard to call out there. Or does anybody have anything for like individual moment? I could talk about my favorite shows for sure.
Yeah, start with that. I'm trying to think of a moment. I mean, Angry Tom was a spectacle.
Yeah,
back in the
there's like
day.
some great Tom rants
Like,
that probably
oh
were the
my
ones that
God.
got us all going. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like it would have to be any time I got into like a real one, either Tom or I got a real bug up on that and went on like a mega rant.
Yeah, that's also some of my personal favorite moments is when you guys do the husband and wife thing and people think that you hate each other.
Sure.
And then people will comment in the chat or they'll comment after the show.
Vince doesn't respect Tom at all. Why are you so mean to him?
Yeah, Vince is an asshole.
You have to trust me. Trust me. If you knew Tom like I knew Tom, you'd be way meaner than I am. I'm a saint for how kind I am.
I love the role reversal that happened like 4.5 years ago where I flipped
100%.
positive. It was like the polarity,
Yeah.
like a Bulls flop.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
I went positive and Vince went hyper
Yeah.
negative. It was fantastic.
Tom, I've gotten so many more messages over the last couple of years about Vince. Vince is so negative. Why can he not say anything positive about the game? I don't think I've gotten a single Tom is negative message in like the last 2 years.
Yeah. No one remembers me being negative.
What'd you say about 4 years? How long ago did they release that Slanesh book? It all comes together. If I'm going to suffer, then everybody else is too. All right, so there we go. Lodovicus said, to put a positive spin, what's each of your favorite things in 4th edition? Just one each. Yeah, sure. I'll talk about that. My favorite thing from the edition, just Skaven in general in the new edition. I like all the new units we have. I wish we had more. But like I liked getting all the new models and stuff like that. I like the new book. Like I do think the Skaven book is good. It'll suffer over time from being one of the early books, but it's fun. I think it's a legitimately fun and interesting and compelling book, and I like playing with it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Tom, you got one?
Spearhead. No, that's another game that doesn't count. If we're actually talking about AOS, you guys are gonna hate this, but free lores. Like I love having free manifestation lores. I don't think that they're well balanced. I think the balance is trash, but I love having free lores. I think that's really...
if it was just the army specific ones or something, it'd be fine.
No, I'm saying like I love the ability to choose my spell lore. It's one of the real choice points I feel like I have when building an army.
Gotcha.
Like a meaningful choice point, right?
Okay.
Because every other one is auto, but for spell lores, like there seems to be really like strong advantages and disadvantages amongst the different spell lores based on how I built that army. That said, I do still think that they're not well balanced.
Right.
But I do love the fact that I get to play with those toys. Those toys sat on my shelf unpainted for years, and now like I get to play with them, and that's exciting to me.
Shout out to the Emperor's Painter, who super chatted saying, so happy to finally catch a Vince stream live. Benefits of taking work off for my 23rd. Happy birthday to the show and to me. Well, happy birthday to you. Absolutely. All right, Tyler, what's your pick?
Yeah, I haven't done a shout out to Matt Rose yet. Matt Rose and company. The last Battle Scroll was arguably the best, certainly one of the best that they've ever done. Just really appreciate what that Battle Scroll to me represented, and hopefully it will continue. You know, I feel like I can think of, there was that one, and then at some point in 3rd edition, there was one that they released. And it's like, okay, this feels like a watershed moment of we're climbing the ladder, we're getting better at this. And yeah, so there's been 2 of those in the entirety that really come to mind. So I'm greatly appreciative of that and what it did to the game. And they took some real swings with the last Battle Scroll. And that to me is generally a great sign. You know, some real swings. So yeah, that's a little tangential to the game itself. But as far as the game, I do love the skill. I think there's a really considerable skill test that goes on with this game still, and there's so many variables that you're trying to account for, and yeah, it could be better, but yeah, I still find games against great players with great lists to be extremely challenging and often very small margins, as long as you're not getting doubled and take your toys off.
Sure. No, agreed. Little Stinker, what's your dream expansion of an existing faction? Just more Skaven. I would like to see the army expanded to what it should be. Like, can we get Eshin properly expanded, Pestilence properly expanded, new Scryer war machines? Like, it could be so much better and more interesting of an army. I think lots of armies need more love piped into them, but that would be one. Tom, what's your pick?
Angel Elves.
Angel Elves, adding on to Lumineth, so Tyrion's Angel Elves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right on. Tyler?
What was the question again?
Your dream expansion of an existing army.
Dream expansion of an existing army, yeah. I mean, that's not a bad idea. Dream expansion of an existing army. Oh, Lord. I have no idea. Let's see. No. We're getting Soulblight. Expansion of Soulblight. I'm filibustering. I'm not sure. Oh, Fire Slayers. I don't know if that's my personal dream, but that's the one we need. We need an expansion of Fire Slayers. Yeah.
Tanks and Stormcast. That's the other thing we need. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Storm tanks. What was your favorite episode or one fave that comes to mind? I mentioned earlier the NPE episode. I thought it was great. We did that big survey, read back out the data. I thought it fostered a lot of good discussion.
Agreed.
All the psychographic profile episodes, the skill test episode that you mentioned with JP Gannis, that was a great one. Yeah, all those are really fun. Yep. All right.
Yeah,
that's
really good.
You guys got anything else besides those?
Those were good episodes.
Yeah, I love the ones that, where we've gone into depth about how to try to get better at the game, or running tournaments, or, just trying to have practical thoughts, practical advice on different topics. I think those are always interesting. But yeah, oh God, so many.
Absolutely. Rusted Toys, crystal ball question. Do you think the Cavill Amazon show will bring a significant number of new fans? Yeah, sure. If it's actually successful and takes off. I mean, a lot of people suddenly got interested in The Witcher when Cavill's Witcher show was popular on Netflix and stuff. So, will many of them stick around? I don't know. Probably.
I don't think
not,
any of them will hit AOS.
But it'll mostly draw a lot of interest into 40K, and then but some people will then go from 40K over to AOS. That happens. It'll trickle down, as it were. So, but it won't be a huge rush to us. But I think it'll be good. I think people will check it out. It's good. It's shocking to me that they haven't capitalized more on getting their concept out into the thing. I finished watching the last season of Arcane or whatever, and I was like, I don't know anything about that stupid League of Legends game, but this world seems pretty awesome. This show ruled. Just do a show like that. Good one that's well written with interesting characters. Okay, Plastic Crack. One rule you would bring back. Okay, so from the history of AOS, one rule you would bring back. What?
This is low-hanging fruit, and we talked about it earlier, but I would go with the bring back weapon ranges.
Okay.
Rather than this standardized business that we're doing. I know, we've had shows, we've had conversation about some of the issues with that, but obviously as someone who plays competitively and loves the details, the nuances of the game, I really appreciated that nuance. It could be a little problematic, right? Anyway, we had those discussions about the issues with that. It's not all gravy. There's problems, but as far as, I don't know what is a better world relative to that compared to where we are now. Maybe there's a better world that I don't know of. But yeah, right now, I really don't like where we're at with the 6-inch standardized thread.
Fair enough. Tom?
Generic monstrous actions.
As opposed to printed rampages on each monster?
Well, so one of the challenges that we had, Vince is making a funny face. One of the challenges that we had with the monstrous actions, like rampages, right, that we currently have, is that monsters themselves have a utility problem, right? And before, adding any monster brought roar.
Yep.
Right, it had a real functional utility, and so what it did was it created a baseline functionality for monsters. That it doesn't matter what their profiles were. There's at least one thing that they did that was meaningful that they brought to the army, and that's just not the case anymore.
Yep, sure. No, it's fair.
Right, and so that was a way to solve the. So here's a great example of what I was talking about with Matt Rose changing things and not understanding why changes were made. Monsters Actions were a response to monsters not having enough utility in second edition. And so when Monsters Actions came, monsters had a real contribution in the action economy and the resources. And so when they got changed to rampages and everything got specialized on the war scroll, one, you removed a decision point, which can be a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. And you remove that thing that was the utility floor that had been created with that suite of Monsters Actions.
Sure. All right, real answer. Anything that would make your general actually valuable and interesting again, because your general is
frozen again.
What? Am I back? Am I okay?
Yeah, Cygnus.
Weird.
Cygnus, that's fair, man. Like I said, I can see why folks would not have that perspective and would prefer the standardized 3-inch.
Yeah. By the way, the answer could just be you could do standardized by infantry or by type. Like, it's very funny to me that we introduced the edition and where everybody actually has a type now, like infantry, cavalry, monster, so on. You could just have had a range by type. This is the first edition you could have done that, and it would have worked mechanically. And yet instead we just defaulted. Like, infantry could have been 1-inch, and monster
cavalry
monsters things could have been 3-inch. Cavalry could have been 1-inch, and so on and so forth. Right? Like, you could have actually done that, and it would have been completely understandable and knowable. But here we are. Anyways, okay. Real answer. Anything that makes your general useful, okay?
Yeah.
Or like matter, because they really don't anymore, other than being a liability to get killed. And joke answer, the old Skink Starseer rule from like first or second or whatever, where they took a D6, where they played a mini game with you, where they were like, okay, I have set the face of a D6 to a number between 1 and 6. And then you had to guess, and if you guessed, you got that many command points. But if you didn't, then if you didn't guess the number, then they got however many command points. You get it, right?
Yeah.
The number of times I was correctly able to guess and steal people's, it's just poker face, right? You just got to read them to know what they're gonna do. Like, you're not brave enough to pick 6 because you're too afraid, so you go down a blah 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 blah. You just go through this like little rigmarole in your head of how brave they are, and then you can generally call them out. And man, it was just awesome to catch people's number on that. Okay, anyways, it was a fun rule. You say it's not compelling, but that music, that's right. Dunk Nugget said, I'm bopping over here. See, people love that Doc trailer. The Doc introduction was one of my most favorite moments of AOS. It reinvigorated my AOS and interest that nothing has since. Oh, agreed. That thing was hype. Favorite mic hit. Yeah, exactly. Anytime Tom has bumped the mic ever. Okay. Let's see. What else we got here?
I feel like I need to.
Heywo said 3-inch weapon ranges are a great time saver, though. Think of how much time you save by not playing turn 3 on.
Yeah,
exactly. Easy.
So I know what Tom's worst take is. I'm trying to remember, Vince. I'm trying to remember what your worst take was of all time.
Oh God, my worst take of all time. Of all time.
Yeah.
Well, clearly, I've never had any bad takes on this show. I mean, obviously.
That
would have just immediately qualified as worst take ever.
Beast of Nurgle. You were definitely wrong on Beast of Nurgle. When people started spamming Beast of Nurgle and you thought they were garbage, basically.
I'm still not completely sure I was wrong on that, because it's not like that ever took over and became the dominant thing. It was still a very annoying playlist that really didn't it's not like it took down a ton of tournaments. It didn't become the vanguard wing of its time. It was just fair. Yes, you could sometimes literally annoy your way to victory. I don't know that that's a strat. Okay.
I think I'm trying to think what Vince or Tom, can you remember Vince's? Did he have one that stood out?
I mean, other than Slanesh is fine.
That's probably it, right? Yeah. But he had a mea culpa.
I mean, I also mea culpa on that pretty fast once I realized it wasn't.
You did.
Like, it didn't take me long to realize that was an incorrect
Only
opinion.
6 months.
It was a lot quicker than that, but at any rate.
Wait, were you guys both guilty of Boingrot Bounders or P? I know Tom was. Were you both guilty of that?
Yeah, we were both on that train, thinking they were too strong. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Noops, you nailed it. There you go.
I mean, no, mine clearly was that zombies.
Zombies.
Yeah, Tom's worst take ever is zombies. We all know that.
We all know.
When he's like, these are bad, the best unit in the game. Like, you have completely misidentified this. Absolutely.
Right.
Did I have I had one? I feel like I'm missing out. The only one I can think of that I had was, for some reason, I would be like, Grumpy Me would come out when Dina was on, because Korn and IDK, and like those, I got triggered by those armies, like grading on my curve, and I don't know, I was in a weird mood with those shows, but something happened in the game. I think maybe it was a new season that suddenly made IDK not that strong. It was something like, I stand by the book at the time when it came out in 3rd edition. It was a really strong book, but then something changed with the GHP or something anyway, that's the only thing I can think of.
My best hot take, by the way, my best cold shot was Vanguard Wing. If you watch,
yeah, sure, you very early latched onto that. I agree.
Like when
really
we reviewed the book
radar.
as the first book of 2nd edition, I said, "This is a problem."
Yeah.
And like, I didn't think, I was like, it's just Liberators. That's crazy. I was wrong there.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Boingrots are OP. Slanesh is fine, sure. Skaven are in a great spot. Skaven have always been in a great spot. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. Fire Island Ogres are my favorite. Yeah, too bad they never materialized. Absolutely. The zombie steak was a great one. All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you all. It's late. I've been doing this for too long. I'm still not back to full health, so I got to get some rest. But listen, this was a lot of fun. 10 years. 10 years, man. 10 years. I really wanted to have that Jeremy Piven quote lined up, but I was like, I'll get a strike or something if I put the actual movie up. But anyways, just imagine Jeremy Piven in Grosse Pointe playing 10 years. Freaked out.
Went away, became an assassin.
Joined the army. Left, became an assassin, went into business for myself. Yeah. Exactly. That's a great movie. 10 years. Yes, it's been 10 full years of doing the show, and it's been a great pleasure to do this with both of you. And, you know, obviously a lot of our lives have all changed a great deal in the last 10 years for many reasons. Not the least of which is we're all 10 years older. And boy, doesn't that show in that look back video.
I didn't think we looked that bad. I thought we were doing pretty good.
I mean, I looked rough sometimes.
I mean, well, if you're going the other way, yeah, you guys look better than ever.
You could easily map as I was walking through the videos. It's like I'll make this joke only because I know Tom well enough. I could easily map going through the videos when Tom was going through his divorce.
Oh sure, yeah. You could just see it. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Yep. Like it did. I was like, oh, I know where we're at here.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yep.
It's kind of a thing. Anyways, it's been great. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure to do this with all of you, with both of you, for all of you out there in the audience. Thank you to all of you who are watching. As I said, whether it's your first show or whether it's literally your 500th, I am honored to be able to do this every week. I thank you all for tuning in. I thank you to everybody who hit like, who super chatted, who subscribed, who does all those things, who shares the show, who shares it with their friends and points out to people, who supports it through all the links down below and picks up your hobby supplies through everything on the channel. It's so incredibly appreciated. So I certainly plan to keep doing this for the foreseeable future. I'll be here as long as you'll all have me. That's for sure. And we're going to try to keep the commitment alive. But Tyler, Tom, thank you both so much.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Look at that. Fake Reality 1. Literally their first show. Awesome. Welcome, Fake Reality. I'm glad to have you. 10th anniversary show, first show. Amazing. Well, welcome. I hope you're back for next week, too. So thank you all so much. We really appreciate you. And as always, we will, well, as always, I'll realize
see you
that
next Wednesday.
We will, yes. Until I realized that I had accidentally turned off the stream controls. And so now, we'll see you next Wednesday.